Yes.
Who will share the second part? It will be you or Marjane?
I don't know. What did Martina, what did we say?
Hello, what's the question?
Who will share the second part?
Who will share the second part? Whatever.
Well, so I'm monitoring time today, and Spina will be introducing the presentations. Is that okay?
Yes, sure. Is that okay, Pedro?
Pedro?
I don't think I have a say in that. It's perfect.
We're starting.
Video.
The following message is best viewed on an oscilloscope.
So I guess we can start.
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to the fourth session of outreach and education sessions of ICHEP. Today we have a number of talks about the CERN Open Days to start with, and then in the second part, various other talks. We'll see as it comes. I guess you know already that you can, when you need to ask questions, you raise your hands, or you can just talk also, since we're not so many. So I think I can invite already Anna Anna Svirla from Atlas to tell us about CERN Open Days last September. Anna.
Good, thank you. So let me share my desktop.
Stop video.
Good, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Very good. So thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to present this talk today. I have the pleasure to present you the Atlas contributions to the CERN Open Days event. As you all know, the CERN Open Days was an event that took place almost a year ago now. It lasted 2 days, a full weekend in September, and it was open to the whole world. It attracted about 70,000 visitors. So the size of this event is clearly enormous. And as you can imagine, it entailed very significant organization and planning. On the CERN side, a core team with a structure based on work packages was managing the central aspects of the event, from education and outreach to technical aspects. And the preparations started actually more than a year prior to the start of the event. This core team interacted with all the different experiments. And on the Atlas side, we had 3 main organizers interacting directly with the CERN core team and overviewing the Atlas activities organization. So I am giving this talk as one of these 3 main organizers. We have been engaged since the very beginning of the preparation, so already at the end of summer 2018. Of course, within Atlas, as I guess is the case within all the experiments, there was a quite enthusiastic, very enthusiastic team behind the organization of the individual activities. And these Atlas physicists, on our case, were either very enthusiastic physicists proposing activities and carrying out the organization till the actual event, or offered their help to organize one of the proposed activities. Within Atlas, we interacted at individual level in a very lightweight way. So the activities that we proposed had multiple objectives. We, first of all, wanted to engage the public and motivate them about the research we are doing and all our pursuits at the LHC. In order to achieve that, we introduced hands-on activities. We wanted to have them see what we do, observe and learn. And in order to achieve that, we organized exhibitions, gave guided visits, and had information stands. We also wanted them to think about what they learn and interact with us in order to think even more. And in order to achieve that, we offered them the opportunity to ask their questions. We tried to give them answers and encourage them to ask even more questions. So in what follows, I will present you basically the activities that we had organized on Atlas. Our activities were spread in 3 main points. 2 of them were at point 1, and the other one was at the Atlas Detector workshop in the new Small Wheel Assembly Hall, close to the entrance of CERN. And the activities we organized were spread basically in all these 3 points. So the majority of our activities were related to hands-on activities. There are actually, in the rest of the sessions today or previously as well, other Atlas talks that talked extensively about them. So I will only very briefly tell you about them. Since Higgs physics is one of the main LHC physics, one of the main points of the LHC physics program, of course, we had to have a dedicated point to talk about Higgs, the Higgs discovery, and what we are doing now at the LHC with Higgs physics. So we had a Higgs corner in the main tent. In this case, we proposed to the visitors a polyhedral dice and a wheel of fortune in order to explain to them the production modes and decay modes. We wanted to tell them about probability associated with this kind of processes in this case. This worked actually very well with a box of sand containing few colored stones as a representation of background and signal that we used in order to explain to them how the probability about our rare events plays about, and how we are actually doing data analysis on the LHC experiments using very few signal events on top of very large backgrounds. This activity was combined with the particle zoo identity quiz, and we gave away pins, and as such, actually, this was a very successful part of this activity. Another very successful activity and very popular one, for which you will also hear later more, is the proton cookie workshop. Here we are starting with a cookie, on top of which we assemble the proton with its constituents, so gluon sugar glazing, and U and D quark Smarties made up of 3 colors. And so we are using this object as a way to explain to the youngest ones about the constituents of the proton. And we can actually go a little bit deeper and talk about color of quarks and also exotic particles with those more interested. We had a version of this event, this activity that we used to keep visitors in the point 1 queues busy in an ad hoc way. A very well-established activity is the build your own particle detector Lego competition. We had many contributions in the CERN Open Days with many models registered. and we gave away goodies, Atlas goodies, to the winners. A refreshing activity that we introduced in front of the New Small Wheel workshop on the Meran site was involving splashing balloons on a display of a collision of a detector as a way to give a relation between the spread of the splash and the balloon energy, and explain to people, kids primarily, the concept of the collision and the energy of the protons and the results of the collision. Now, all these different hands-on activities were complemented by magnetic puzzles, the identity quiz that took place in the queue, and also the Atlas pop-up book that you will see appearing in another activity later on. One of our biggest highlights was, of course, the underground visits, in which case, profiting also from the, let's say, quite a good position of Atlas at CERN, had enormous queues and waiting for up to 3 hours. In our case, we didn't have a ticketing system, but we would have profited from a ticketing system. This is something that we should more carefully consider in the future. The Atlas underground visits were very carefully planned, and we actually achieved the largest capacity ever achieved on Atlas underground visits in these events. For people that did not want to wait long queues or could not access underground due to safety reasons, we also offered visits to the visitor center, and this worked quite well. In the picture on the bottom left, you can see actually the tent where people were queuing for accessing both the visitor center and the underground visits. Another guided tour that we offered was on the impressive New Small Wheel Assembly Hall in the building 191, which we transformed into a detector exhibition. So in this case, people actually could, without any age restrictions or other really restrictions or queuing, view a real-size detector, and at the same time also study, let's say, see a little bit closer detector pieces of Atlas detectors that were explained either by volunteers or using posters. I mean, in my opinion, this was one of the best activities that we offered to the visitors, as they could see a bit closer what the detector looks really like. The drawback here was the remote location, and we spent quite some organizational effort to advertise both before and during the event. Nevertheless, we had initially quite a low turnout, and we actually overcome that by organizing ad hoc walking tours from point 1 to building 191. So one of our volunteers would carry a group of interesting people with them all the way to building 191, explaining them on the way about CERN and giving them a tour inside the Atlas detector workshop. We had stands, 3 different stands, a photo booth where visitors took pictures in front of a photo wall and took away these as a souvenir. So you can see here in this picture some sample such pictures. We had a software and computing stands where we could explain to them about the LHC grid and other related topics. And we had an Atlas-tuned kaleidoscope. So you already got a preview of the kaleidoscope at the beginning of the session. This is an activity where we explained about the physics of music and oscilloscopes in sounds that were tuned to create Atlas images. This was a quite fascinating musical attraction and worked quite well in the remote position of the building 191. Last but not least, we had our science cafe taking a prominent position inside the main tent at point 1, where Atlas baristas offered coffee or tea and sat down with visitors to answer their questions. We used specially designed cups that you can see in the picture in this slide. And you can see actually some previews of this event, some snapshots of this event in this slide. This activity involved the Atlas pop-up book as a way actually to interact with people, explain to them things, and also attract them. In this slide, you can see the summary of our activities at point 1 on the right part of the page. So we had there 2 tents that hosted our activities, and of course, the underground visits and the visitor center visits. And on the left part of the page, the Building 191 related activities with the detector exhibition, the new small wheel display, and outside 2 other smaller activities. The weekend in numbers actually was quite successful. Just to give you some examples, we had 3,800 underground visitors. We organized 15 walking tours from point 1 to Building 191. We produced 1,800 proton cookies and gave away 3,900 Atlas cups and served about 2,000 coffees. Last but not least, we had about 300 Atlas volunteers to animate the event, without which, of course, the event would not have been such a success. So let me just say a few words about our Atlas volunteers. So within Atlas, we started the volunteer call quite early on, already from December 2018, in order to inform people and engage them. The various roles that we had for the volunteers were proposed by Atlas based on our activities and, of course, in accordance to the guidelines from CERN. And our volunteer individual assignments were made by us based on the expression of interest of the individuals, and also accounting for specific training, for example, when it came to underground visits. The communication with our volunteers and with everybody within Atlas was actually very, very lightweight. We just had a few emails that contained pointers to a wiki that we kept always meticulously up to date. And we organized on a per event basis, per activity basis, information sessions towards the end in order to inform the volunteers more. So to summarize, the CERN Open Days was an amazing collaborative opportunity for us physicists. It was an occasion to go beyond our everyday work and think about particle physics globally and collaborate with our Atlas collaborators in things that we didn't collaborate necessarily in the past. We had a lot of energy and ideas on activities to organize. Unfortunately, we could only realize a fraction of them, but we have more ideas saved for future events. We implemented a mix of well-established and refreshing new activities and gained a lot of experience for future events. So we have already actually tried out some of the new activities in other events that came since. And all in all, we had about 300 Atlas volunteers and many thousands of visitors, making this a really memorable weekend. And we are already looking forward to a next version of the CERN Open Days. That's all I had. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'm really impressed by all these activities, all the imagination and the initiative by the various Atlas members. So are there questions? Link to Mattermost channel.
Despina, I can
Sorry.
monitor Mattermost if you like.
Okay, so Pedro, question.
Hello, Anna. Thank you very much for your impressive review. Yes, indeed, the ticketing system sounds that should have been an obvious thing beforehand. And besides the ticketing system, a kind of fast pass system. I mean, everybody that went to Disney World or this type of huge number of people fairs and the shows and the exhibitions, we know it does help a lot. But what I really wanted to know now is if you had time already to make an evaluation of the how people felt about it. I mean, I'm sure they were enthusiastic, those that went down especially, but also a posteriori feedback, and feedback based on age or based on if you got the feeling, of course, people were certainly thrilled to go to CERN Open Days, but take into account they waited for 3 hours. Would afterwards they consider it was worthwhile? The questions they asked afterwards, were they kind of, okay, I've seen it, I've done it, now I want to move something else, or they stayed to ask more questions? I mean, was there a feedback assessment a posteriori?
Yeah, so that's a very good question indeed. So I should say that all the feedback we got from people that went down was mostly enthusiastic. I mean, everybody was stunned by seeing the Atlas underground area. And then they indeed stayed and asked more questions. So it seemed to me that people that did see Atlas underground were super happy to have waited actually 3 hours in order to achieve that. Of course, there were a lot of people that were prevented from even queuing, because at some point we had to close the queues, because you can imagine, of course, if we didn't do that, we would end up with queues that, I mean, with even longer queues and even much, much longer waiting hours. And these people that could not, did not have the chance to even queue were, of course, not happy at all, especially because many of them thought that by registering for the event, they basically were registering for accessing Atlas Underground if they registered for the access point 1. So there was quite some frustration at point 1, but it was coming from those who could not actually, queue in order to go down. Those that went down, I repeat, were extremely enthusiastic. So in the end, let's say the waiting time was it was an unfortunate fact, and we certainly would not want to repeat that in the future, but it didn't prevent people from leaving the event very happy if they managed to go down again.
Steve, I think, has a question.
Sure. I wanted to first thank Anna for her fantastic presentation, but more importantly, for the amazing work she did in organizing a group of 300 physicists, because that's not a trivial thing to do. And she included in that mix. I mean, there were the difficult people like myself, but there were also, I mean, she went all the way up to spokespersons and deputy spokespersons who were involved, pouring coffee. I thought that it was a lot of fun to do that, but as she pointed out, it was very challenging. It's what's unfortunate is we know, those of us who've been around for many open days, that because of Atlas's location, we're going to be seen as CERN when people arrive, because they arrive at point 1. And I think they tried hard to understand that, but we still have to get the point across to CERN that every effort has to be made to get people out to the other places. And also, we proposed ticketing schemes. We proposed things like this, which were rejected. And I think that the experiments, as I complain all the time for various aspects, need to be involved early on in developing the strategy. And in this case, we could foresee it. What was somewhat tragic, I mean, it was fantastic. We got many people underground. And of course, when they see Atlas, CMS, LHCb, Alice, any of these experiments, they're thrilled. There's no doubt about that. That's an easy thing. But what's a little sad is that the people who couldn't go underground were those types of people who couldn't wait in the sun for 3 hours. So that includes very young people, and that includes old people. And so it's really cutting off people. It's not being inclusive. And so that's a real issue that should be taken very seriously next time, and how to fix that. But again, I stress that Anna did an amazing job, and we all had a lot of fun doing this, and she got us all organized extremely well.
Yeah, so thanks, Stephen, for this comment. I should also point out that it was a very good choice in the end to include the Building 191 in our exhibitions, because this was an amazing alternative. And another thing that in the future we should also try a bit more is to make these remote places a little bit more accessible to people, because despite the fact that there was the little train that I have also included in one of the pictures that I have here, I mean, you can see it in this picture here, as a matter of fact, the frequency or capacity of this little train was far too little, actually. So in the end, it was not a very accessible point, the building 191, despite the fact of being actually a quite, I mean, a really, really good way for people that did not have the, let's say, courage or patience to wait for 3 hours to actually see something that was equally impressive and even, in my opinion, even more educative, given that we had also all this detector exhibition around.
Right. Are there more questions?
So the time is finished.
Okay. There is nothing on Mattermost, I guess. No, there is
nothing.
Okay, so thanks again, Anna. Now it's Marcena's turn to tell us about CMS. So I will be checking the time.
Okay, yes, please. Okay, so tell me if you can see the slides, full screen.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so as you can see, we are staying with in the same t-shirts. So the colors are the same. We are on the opposite side of the LHC ring. So I'm going to tell you about CMS side of CERN Open Days. So how we transformed the CMS experimental site into a family village during CERN Open Days 2019. And I'm giving this talk on behalf of the CMS collaboration. So just to tell you a few key numbers. So similarly as it was in Atlas, at CMS, it was 1 year of preparation to organize 2 days of public event and 1 day internal event. I will tell you more about that later. And there was a core team of 15 people on the CMS side that invested their time through the year in organizing activities, proposing, organizing, and leading and delivering activities during the event. And we delivered 18 activities on the CMS site, and we welcomed around 8,000 visitors, and this would not have been possible without 315 volunteers. So it's the similar number of volunteers we had on the CMS site. So the goal was to occupy visitors for around 3 to 4 hours. So the strategy was different because as our Atlas colleagues said, Atlas is on the opposite side of CERN main entrance, and in our case CMS is on the opposite side of the LHC ring. So it means it's around 20 minutes drive. It's 15 kilometers, if I'm not wrong. And so the goal was to keep visitors on our site for around 3 to 4 hours, because it was not advisable to change sites. Well, if they traveled on the other side of the LHC ring, they were invited to stay there. So in fact, spend a few hours at CMS and then visit neighboring sites. So not come back to the main CERN site because the roads were closed. There were buses, but not very often. So we prepared a plan to occupy our visitors for a couple of hours if they came to our site. So as I mentioned earlier, for us, for the organization, it was a 3-day event. So on Saturday and Sunday, it was a public event, so all activities were in place. But we also welcomed visitors on Friday. So on Friday before the event, it was like a day for CMS friends and family and CERN people. And in the evening, we also had a concert that was with invitation only. But it also, well, it was also an organization for us, and we needed to prepare ourselves for a 3-day event. So at the end, we organized 18 activities. So that's a list. And of course, our star activity was underground visits. So all visitors who came to our site, they were registered to go underground. So of course, there was no ticketing system centrally delivered, but at CMS, we prepared ourselves into how to logistically tackle the problem that people would be queuing. And we proposed a bracelet. So when people were entering the site, we were giving them a time slot when they could go underground. So this allowed them to enjoy the surface activities. So at the end, we didn't have a queue, and that was a very nice decision to make this. And especially that we had these 18 activities happening on a site, so they could freely enjoy all of them before their time came, and they could go to the grouping tent. So on the other side of the site, and then they were allocated a guide, and they were going on the ground. So let me tell you about few of these activities, because we will not have time to go through all of them. We had a really, really rich program at CMS. So for example, we had virtual reality headsets. So our visitors could, of course, visit CMS experiment on the ground, but through the virtual reality, they could also visit the LHC accelerator data center, and they could also learn how we are working with equipment at CMS. So we had some videos from lowering of equipment. So in fact, they could have experienced the lowering down 100 meters down through the shaft. So not through the lift where they were going, but as they were in equipment. So that was very nice. Another activity was tactile collider. So we haven't forgotten about visually impaired people. So this activity was delivered by people from UK who kindly agreed to come with their installation. So that was an installation of the LHC accelerator, and people could experience this through sound and touch. And another activity organized by CMS subdetector people. So our experimental surface hall was transformed into many activities, and one of them was showcasing CMS detector technologies. So CMS physicists were explaining which technologies we are using to detect particles and which parts of the CMS are detecting what sort of particles. So that was another activity. And we also had fun with physics. That's a very well-known activity organized by CERN, explaining cryogenic phenomena, and when visitors could enjoy liquid nitrogen ice cream. So that was very popular. And another creative activity. So those of you who have children, you might know these Kapla wooden blocks. So we invited association from Lyon who came with a lot of Kapla wooden blocks, and we allowed our visitors' imagination to go wild and build CMS detector pieces with Kapla wooden blocks. And our visitors could also learn how to give first aid. So that's a very important aspect of working underground. So the variety of activities was covering different activities that we need to work. So not only physics, but also activities like that, when we were explaining our visitors that to work underground, in fact, it's a wide spectrum of skills of our people that we need to cover. And another activity was programming robots. So in fact, what you can see here is this little white robot that was, we had 4 of them with us, and our visitors were getting familiar with the science of programming. So not only physics, but what are the skills we need in order to run the CMS detector, and the programming is one of them. So our young visitors could learn how to tell a robot how to do various things. Like here it was something simple, like take a paper ball or a cup and move it from one place to another. So how to program the robot. So that was another activity. And another creative activity was building the CMS detector with Lego. I will tell you more about that later, because it was something new that we tried. And of course, the SAR activity, underground visits. So how it is to experience going 100 meters underground and stand next to the CMS detector. So that's undoubtedly activity number 1 that everyone wanted to experience. So just to tell you a little bit more about the Lego activity, so that's something new that we tried, but it's not new. So it's a concept that was developed by Atlas PhD student. So Nathan has developed a pocket version of the Large Hadron Collider, and other detectors are available. I've given you a link here. So Atlas LHCb analysis. So what we've done is we've ordered, we went to Pick a Brick website and we ordered bricks for 500 models. And we were giving away 250 models per day to children below 14. So it worked very well. It was a bit of a preparation, especially ordering bricks individually on the Lego website. Then when the pieces arrived, and I've placed a few pictures for you to see how it looked, we needed to assemble them into CMS sets. So we also ordered paper bags. When we were putting the exact number of pieces needed to build the CMS detector. So in fact, the whole activity, in order to the whole activity go smoothly during the open days. So we had prepared sets ready, but it was, and we were also putting instructions. So here you can see one volunteer with a ready set. So we were putting instructions in the paper bag. So that was really time consuming. So what you can see here is that even on the Saturday morning, our visitors in the grouping 10, when they were available, they were helping us to prepare the sets. So that was quite time consuming, but it was very nicely welcomed by our visitors, and not only young visitors. So this activity was quite, I would say, maybe even too popular, and we were not ready to meet all the expectations of our visitors. So that's something for the future, and something that it's a nice lesson learned for others as well. So because I'm working in communication, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the social media, how we handle that. So the strategy was to have a limited number of posts, to not spam those who could not come to CERN Open Days, but inviting people to follow us on stories. So on Instagram and Facebook, because the stories are shared on both platforms, we were posting stories. So in fact, on the right, you can see screenshots from these stories. So stories, they stay for 24 hours. And so they disappear after 24 hours. So what we've done, we were we are publishing different activities. We were publishing what our visitors say. We were sharing a bit of enthusiasm and engaging our online public. So each story had around 1,000 views. And we also did 2 lives. So it means we gave access to our Instagram account to one of the guides, and who was giving an underground tour, and he in fact shared live his tour, so our online visitors could also follow underground tour. So that was really nice. And something new that we tried, and it worked very nicely, was a new hashtag that we launched during CERN Open Days, so My CMS Visit. We were brainstorming what should be the actual hashtag to sound engaging in sharing photos, and it worked. So in fact, we had 2 selfie points with instructions how to share your selfie, and we also had posters on the site advertising the hashtag. And a big thank you to the grouping tent, because volunteers there, they were really engaging our visitors, and they were really introducing them to the hashtag. So this is how it worked. So now we can easily filter our visitors' photos from the open day. And more than that, this hashtag is now being used, and even very important people visiting the CMS cavern, they tag their photos with this hashtag. So this is something that is going to stay with us. And before the lockdown, we printed posters for the underground cavern. So when there is a visitor's balcony just in front, there will be a poster explaining how to share a selfie from the visitor's cavern. So this hashtag is something that worked very well. So the CMS credo is happy volunteers, happy visitors. So our family atmosphere was not only for our visitors, but it was also for our volunteers. So for us, we really felt like being a part of a big family. And what we've done towards this is, there was this Friday event that was reserved, the morning was reserved for CMS friends and family. And our visitors could also take the rides in the hot air balloon. So we had a hot air balloon at CMS that was organized by Michael Hogg and his exhibition on cosmic ray discoveries. And we also had our own music playlist. So I've placed the link here. So please enjoy. So you can see how we had a big party on Sunday evening, and you can see our volunteers dancing. We had a charity food stand organized by Connie, and a helicopter landing demo organized by our site coordinator. So the key features of this of the organization was flexibility of the core team, of the site manager, of the volunteers, of the visitors, and the positive spirit. So organizing an event like this, it's something that is very intensive, and the positive spirit and flexibility are helping. And something that was also very nice for the organization was a WhatsApp group that we had with the core team. So because we were dispatched at the CMS site, it was nice to have a like instant messaging system, and the WhatsApp group worked very well. For example, in the cases, we had a case when one child was lost, was looking for a mother, so we shared on WhatsApp group that there is a case like that. Or we had ice cream in the fridge for the core team. So that's also a very important message for the core team, like there is some ice cream for you in the fridge, go ahead and grab one. And we also had a quiet room, and that worked very well as well. With the event like that, when you have hundreds of people on a site or even thousands, it could feel overwhelming, and we had this possibility of finding a quiet place and just relax. We had
Martina, sorry, you have 1 minute left.
Okay, food trucks on site that really helped to keep our visitors fed and our volunteers as well. And everything was organized with safety in mind, underground visits and surface visits. So that was very important. So of course, this is what I think and what we think at CMS, but it's always good to ask what our visitors think. So we've made a short video we interviewed our visitors. So maybe I will be able to run it for you, just a few seconds. So this boy is speaking in French, but there are English subtitles.
Moi, ce que j'ai aimé, c'est la réalité virtuelle, les Lego, la programmation, la descente au CMS, les caplats, etc. En fait, à peu près tout, quoi.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. And big thank you to the site coordinator, core team, and all volunteers. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Marcena. I'm really impressed by all the activities at CMS. So comments or questions? Pedro.
I'm sorry to be posing all the questions. Marjana, you had in your preparation of communication, you said there is a post saying 10,000 visitors. So in total, how many visitors went to CMS?
Sorry, 8,000.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is that on I don't know what slide it is. It says 10,000. So the total
okay, sorry,
in CMS,
maybe I will share again. Sorry, I stopped sharing. I said at one point about the quiet room that
no, it was the slide 18. In slide 18.
Okay.
And when we're preparing sorry, I thought it was 18.
This one. Yes. So that's 1K views of the Instagram story.
Okay. Because so the total, that's why my question was more, how many people in total visited CMS?
8,000.
8,000. Okay. In the 3 days.
8,000 is a number. 8,000 is a number of for the whole site. So even
in the weekend.
Both weekends and Friday.
Also Friday.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So who is next? Sarah.
Thank you. Yes, I thank you very much for the really nice overview. I have a question about the Lego activity, because you said that it was really popular, and then you added, but you could not meet the expectations of all the visitors. Did you mean that you just have not had enough sets, or what was the problem here?
Yes, but we were ready for it because we were giving it for free. So we were ready. Well, we had, of course, our aim was to give away the sets to children below 14, but we we were giving away to even 16 years old if we saw that this person is really motivated. But many adults wanted a Lego model, and many volunteers as well. So that was the only frustration we had. Well, it's something that for which we were prepared, because we simply wanted to try this activity. We'd never done it before, and in fact, when we placed the order on Lego Pick a Brick website, we realized that we could have ordered more, but it was too late, and we didn't want to go through the same process of ordering Lego pieces, because I know our Atlas colleagues, they also did it, and ordering on the Pick a Brick website is not something easy. So I think for the next time we could envisage to order more, because it was a very nice like short activity for this type of events. And in fact, we discovered that Nathan has an agreement with Lego to not sell these models. So because we wanted to introduce them in the CMS shop later, because many CMS people were asking us that they really wanted this model, and we, because it was something new, this is not something that they could buy it even for their family and children. So we were thinking about introducing this in the shop, but we cannot, because Nathan has an agreement with Lego, and he cannot sell these pieces. So the only way is to give them away.
Okay, thank you. So in principle, it's actually good for the activity itself.
Yes, very nice.
Because it was just really popular. I see, I see. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Are there more questions or comments? No, I don't see anything.
Okay, so I will stop sharing.
So thanks a lot, Marcena, and I guess now it's my turn. So, share screen. Share. Can you see it?
Oh, yes, yes, we can see.
Yes. Okay. So after CMS and after Atlas and the CMS, you will hear the version of Alice about the Open Days, and it is my pleasure to present it to you on behalf of the Alice collaboration. So as you know and have heard already from the previous speakers, it was really a memorable weekend, during which more than 75,000 visitors came to 9 CERN sites. All LHC experiments, as you know, were offering visits underground, and at point 2, in addition to the underground visits, we had also thought of organizing other activities in order to keep people occupied during a number of hours, but also to satisfy the aims that you see here, to satisfy their curiosity, to inform, educate, and entertain both adults and children, and also to give them the opportunity to interact with scientists. And for many of the activities, we decided to build on initiatives and bright ideas of Alice members. Here you can see a list of the activities that I will present. So many months before the event, we made a small team to organize everything, consisting of the Alice group leader in matters of safety and members from the technical coordination, the outreach coordination, the management, and the secretariat. We had regular meetings. Of course, we participated in the meetings organized by the CERN central organizers, and we had a lot of interactions with them. And our responsibility was to organize all activities at the point 2 site, of which you see a map here. The work involved organizing all the logistics, spaces, material, and so on. The volunteers, meaning recruiting, allocating tasks and training them, and the production of outreach materials such as posters. Here you see most of the activities were inside this building where there is also the control room and underneath the experiment, and some were in the conference room. So for the open days, we had produced a number of posters. Of course, I will not explain them, just flashing them here with the help of the CERN graphics designers made them for us. These were simple with mainly photographs and a little bit of text. I've put the CDS links so people interested to use them for outreach events can of course use them. Coming to the activities, the visits, the underground visits were of course the highlight of the event. And we're very lucky because we could offer visits of both the cavern and the LHC. Alice is situated, as you can see here, near the point where the transfer line from the SPS comes and joins the LHC. So the visitors could see the service tunnel, the accelerator tunnel straight section, and the experiment. And from the point where they were, they could see also the arc and the straight section. So this was exciting, of course, for the visitors, but also for the guides, since for many of them, it was the first time that they were visiting the tunnel and could see all the elements of the accelerator. And I would like to thank Mirko at this point, who provided information about all the accelerator elements and trained the organizing team, who then trained the volunteers. So for the underground visits, we had a lot of brainstorming and different scenarios because we wanted to maximize the number of visitors, of course, respecting the safety rules, at the same time maximizing what they could see. So in the end, we decided for groups of 14 visitors, going down with one guide who did the explaining and one crowd marshal to keep the timing and keep the group together. The groups were going down every 4 minutes for a visit of duration exactly 28 minutes. We had made a very precise timing of the different steps. Since we had foreseen 4 stops for explanations, 2 in the tunnel and 2 in the experimental area. The visits were in French or English. We had 2 separate queues. We offered more languages if required and if guides speaking that language were available. The guides had loudspeakers, portable loudspeakers, since it's noisy down there. And there were special training sessions for the guides, both in the conference room and underground, during 2 sessions on the Thursday and Friday before the open days. So here you can get an idea of some phases of the visits. After preparation, taking helmets, putting bags away in cages and so on, already the guide would start giving an introduction while the visitors were waiting for the lift. Once down, first they walked some hundreds of meters inside the service tunnel, where they could see a lot of infrastructure, power supplies, control electronics, and so on. And then inside the main tunnel, there was a stop at this big LHC dipole with explanations. And then along the way, seeing various elements, the guide could explain something else. For instance, here you see the direct feed boxes which supply the high current to the magnets. At the end of the tunnel, they could see this special magnet, the triplet, which does the final focusing of the beams. And then through this staircase that had been installed, connecting the tunnel with the Alice cavern, they could see the experiment. So from the low beta platform, they could see the big solenoid with the doors open. This is quite impressive because since during LS2 we are doing a major upgrade, half of the detectors had been pulled out, so it was half empty, so they could really see inside. Then there was another stop at the forward muon spectrometer, and at the end of the visit, when they were outside, they had the opportunity to continue the discussion with the guide, ask more questions and so on, since we had quite a number of guides. They were also encouraged to visit the ALICE exhibition at the surface, where they could find out more about the experiment. In this exhibition, we show a 7-minute film, which exists in 12 languages. This is projected with 3 projectors on 2 surfaces perpendicular to each other, one of them being a real-size mock-up of the cross-section of the central part. So with the technique of video mapping, the detector comes alive very nicely. In this mock-up, there is a number of detector items embedded in the real positions. Also, there are more detectors in showcases, together with 3 big touch screens with a lot of information about the detectors. So after the film, the visitors could either look around and read the information by themselves, or interact with the guys who were there, available to answer questions and give further explanations. Visitors were also encouraged to go to the conference room and listen to presentations. These were general presentations about CERN, particle physics, ALICE, spin-offs that were given by ALICE members, alternating with the Drôle de Physique, this physics is fun show by CERN, where they could see experiments about the states of matter and magnetism. Actually, we had the program at the point where they were registering, and they were informed already when they were entering that they had this possibility. These were in general well attended, and there were a lot of questions and interest from the public. So coming to the main hall where there were the activities, let me start from the activities about for children, which were advertised with this poster. Our colleague Grigori Theophilov was doing this, I think, for the 3rd time during CERN Open Days, setting up a number of simple experiments using simple everyday materials. This always attracts the attention of both children and adults, and you can see some examples here with hair dryer and ping pong balls demonstrating gas dynamics. This is camera obscura. Here, this is demonstration of how an electric current generates a magnetic field, and so on. Children had the possibility to build ALICE, the ALICE detector, out of cardboard, cutting and gluing together the components. This is the famous ALICE paper craft that has been designed by Tiziano, that you see here. The children who made the whole thing were given the paper craft. Tiziano makes also all sorts of games out of cardboard, and he had on display and explaining some more of them. For instance, this is what he calls phytoscopio, a number of discs that the children had to turn so that they had to align 3 triangles of the same color. The idea being to tell them about how a track reconstruction is done. There was also this particle game, dice with particles on their side, so that people had to throw them and collect particles, learning in this way about particle decays. Next to all these activities of Tiziano, there was also a table where children could build ALICE out of Lego blocks. For this, again, we used the components of the ALICE detector from this Lego, from this LHC Lego by Nathan, which was unfortunately not accepted by Lego when it was put on Lego Ideas for voting. But anyway, we had ordered the pieces, and this was quite a successful activity. Another activity that attracted a lot of attention was the cosmic piano. I'm sure it is familiar, it is known to many of you. This is a setup of 5 plastic scintillators with photomultipliers, with avalanche photodiodes, which send their signals to an electronics box, which then sends the signals to light bulbs and loudspeakers. So muons going through the scintillators and generating signals. If this is above a certain threshold, they generate light flashes and sound, cosmic music. This can work either in this way or putting them one on top of the other. It's possible to put them in coincidence. This is always quite impressive. You can see here the Mexican team who have made the cosmic piano. And this also gives the possibility to the guides to explain about the cosmic rays and how the particle detection is done. In addition to all these activities, there were detector stands so that we could present detector technology. Since many of the detectors were out for maintenance, we had a stand with a module, a small module, and a big super module of the electromagnetic calorimeter, and also a big transition radiation detector super module. This is one of the detectors for particle identification, for electron identification, together with tracking. Both stands were, of course, manned with experts from that detector giving explanations, and so this also attracted quite some interest. And in the Alice Rand Control Center, we also had a number of activities. Already seeing the control center with all these screens around, it's quite interesting, since there were snapshots there from the real situation, so one could have a feeling of how it is during data taking. In addition, there was a small demo system with explanations about the data taking during Grant 3 by the DAC experts. There were also virtual reality headsets, similarly to what Marcena mentioned, offering visitors the chance to move inside the LHC accelerator, a detector, and the data center environment. And there was also CAD, computer-aided design and virtual reality tools explained by experts. And here you could see there was, people could explore virtually the Alice environment. So this brings me to the end. In underground, we had 4,600 visitors. 600 were on Friday afternoon, which was dedicated to CERN staff and families. On Saturday, we had 1,800, and on Sunday, almost 2,200. On the stands and surface activities, we have many thousands. I don't have a number for that. The visitors were, many of them from the area, France and Switzerland. Some had come from far away specifically for the open days. Some examples, as mentioned by one of the lecturers who was obviously asking them where they are from. There were people from Australia, from US, Finland, Canada, and some guy mentioned that there was a group of people who came dressed up as Star Trek characters. So all this was made possible by more than 200 volunteers. Half of them were Alice members. And all these were guides, animators for the activities, and also for the various logistics tasks. All this was the result of many months of preparation. And you can see on YouTube this video made by Tiziano, which shows quite nicely the atmosphere on the various activities. So, in some personal remarks, the visitors, certainly they all seemed very happy. Some were just in awe after the underground visit, but in general, they were interested and had questions. The volunteers were very enthusiastic and eager to interact with the visitors. And as Marcena also mentioned, there was a very nice family atmosphere among the guides. I think this was an opportunity for young colleagues to develop their communication skills, and also an opportunity for the outreach initiatives of Alice members, such as the Cosmic Piano, the Papercraft, and so on, to be appreciated by many. The message that outreach is fun, fulfilling, and really rewarding has hopefully reached people, and hopefully will encourage many colleagues to become active in outreach on a permanent basis. So I can also end by saying that we're looking forward to more events of this type, for instance, next open days or more, COVID allowing always. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Despina. So do we have any questions to Despina? I have a question if I can, but let me have a look at Mattermost. Despina, how did you manage to limit the time to 28 minutes?
The time of the visit.
Yes. Was it easy to define the time 28 minutes and not 30?
We had the I should have shown it. We had told people exactly how much we had measured. We had gone 2-3 times to measure exactly how long it takes to walk.
Okay.
Some hundreds of meters in the service tunnel and then in the straight section and so on. So we had allocated exact time to the guides for talking.
Okay.
And
that's
the crowd marshal had a card showing to the guide go when the time was over during a pause for explanations. So that's why we were telling also people that we can continue upstairs if you want.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I think it was in general, it was respected.
Okay, so we have 2 questions. Ivan, go ahead.
Yes, I was also amazed by the way you organized the underground visits, especially by the fact that the groups were separated by 4-minute gap. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I also have a question regarding Cosmic Piano.
Yes.
Is there a video for that?
A video? I don't know. What do you mean? A video showing the Cosmic Piano?
Yeah. So that
I have to look.
And see that.
Maybe it is shown on the video by Tiziano, but actually, if it is, maybe there is a video from this Cosmic Piano had appeared some years ago in the Montreux Jazz Festival in a session organized by Steve, Physics is Music, and the music of physics and physics,
yeah, exactly. You got it right.
Together with a pianist who was playing in parallel and so on. So maybe there is a video from that.
Yeah, we definitely have several. We have several videos if you look on YouTube.
Yeah, okay. I can look up and send you the link later.
Yeah.
Okay, and my last question: what's the cost of these Lego models?
This I don't know. I can ask if you like Peggy, who had ordered them. She had ordered the individual pieces, but I don't know.
About 10 euros.
10 euros, what, per piece?
Per one detector, right?
Okay. Cost of Lego. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So there is a question from Pedro or Steve. Pedro first and then Steve.
I'm done.
I'm sorry to take time in questions all the time. First, I find very nice the idea of the crowd marshal, so it keeps people on track. Were there people delaying to take pictures, to take selfies, and I mean, this did not pose delays to the movement of the group?
Yeah, sorry.
And the second question was related to the Cosmic Piano.
Yes.
If people noticed the simultaneous flash of bulbs, so I mean, it could be detecting showers as well, but I don't know if that was noticed by people there or not.
About the first question, I think in general the time was respected because the flow was quite good, because we had taken into account the time that it takes the lift to go down, to come up, and we didn't want it to be, to spend time, to have that time. I think the explanations and the time, for instance, in front of Alice included also some time for photographs. I think it was well respected. About the Cosmic Piano, if you could detect showers, well, I guess you can, but I don't know the frequency. I mean, if you saw this thing on the table, where is it?
No, I saw the distance was quite short between the detectors. So it would
Well,
not be so
I
bad.
mean, one thing is to have them like this, and the other is to put them one on top of the other.
No, yes, it's
Yeah,
if
and
it's
then
on
in
top,
the
it's
the
different.
box that controls everything has a mode of a single mode, and also
okay.
a coincidence mode.
It might be not a trigger.
I think the coincidence mode is, I don't know if it's
Okay.
off 5 or anyway, I can, if you
Okay.
are interested, I can ask.
Thank you.
By the way, these people, the Mexican group, I think also they can make the cosmic piano for people who want it.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I cannot see more questions in the room and in Mattermost. So I think we can go ahead. Thank you, Despina. It was a very nice talk. So now I let you
share.
share.
I can share. How do I stop share? So now it's the turn of Kate, no? Kate, Catherine, about the cookies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just lost my Zoom on the window.
So we can see your screen. You just need to go full screen.
Okay. Can you see that?
I think it is appearing. Yes. Perfect.
And let me drag. I've lost my mouse.
It's all okay. We can see your presentation.
It's not covered by the Zoom.
No, it's not covered by the Zoom.
Okay, good. It is on mine, but that's okay because I know.
Yeah, I know. But it's all okay from our side.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to change gears a bit now and tell you about particle physics and cake. So the Physics Cakes project is 2 Atlas physicists. There's me, Catherine Leaney, and my friend and colleague, Katie Grimm. So in this talk, I'm going to tell you a bit about the public events that we've run using Cake. I'm going to tell you a bit about the educational aspects of this project and about our media engagement, a bit about our social media, and then the future plans we have. So Physics Cakes began a couple of years ago when I said to a friend and colleague, it was his birthday, and I said, I'll make you a birthday cake. And what would you like it to look like? And he laughed and jokingly said, well, I don't know. Oh, I hit the wrong button. He said,
no, it's all okay.
I don't know, make it look like the Atlas detector. Just jokingly, but I did. So I made this. This is a cake that looks like the Atlas detector, and this is how the Physics Cakes project was born. So then Katie and I realized that we can actually use Cake as a communication tool to make physics more digestible, if you'll forgive the pun, to non-scientific audiences. So we've then used this to run some public events and give public talks. So the first one was a talk I gave at CERN back in October 2017. This was for their Dark Matter Day event. The talk was attended by, it was in the Globe at CERN. It was at full capacity, which is I think about 275 people. And there are 100 people on a waiting list for tickets as well, and also a live webcast. So the talk was built around dark matter cake, which is a recipe we created, which is you end up with an anatomically correct model of the universe, but in cake form. So the cake in it has white chocolate chips, which represent the visible matter in the universe. It has dark chocolate chips to represent dark matter. And it also has the secret ingredient, which is beetroot, which represents the dark energy. And all of these are in the proportions that we expect these 3 things to be in the universe. So when you put the cake together, you end up with a cake of the universe. So when I gave the talk, I invited members of the audience on stage to join me and eat a piece of cake. And by doing this, we did a mock sort of survey of the universe. So I asked people to keep track of how many pieces of visible matter they found. So how many white chocolate chips, how much dark matter they found. So this is the dark chocolate chips. And we also discovered as well that dark energy, or the beetroot in this case, is very, very hard to detect. So the talk was covered on Atlas social media. We were also mentioned in the New Yorker and in Symmetry Dark Matter Day coverage there as well. So more recently, we had planned to run a workshop at WOMAD Festival, which you'll hear more about from Connie later. So the idea here was to build on this idea and run a workshop for sort of 30 to 40 people, where they would have a version of this dark matter cake, but made in a mug, and use this to learn about dark matter and the composition of the universe. So these mug cakes you cook in a microwave. So I thought this is a great opportunity to actually discuss the Big Bang and the cosmic microwave background, and then use these microwaves that we would have there to measure the speed of light, using the sort of classic chocolate experiment where you melt holes and then measure the distance and measure the wavelength and get the speed of light that way. Of course, COVID happened, so we weren't at the festival in person, but the event got moved online. So I made a pre-recorded talk, sort of following the same lines as the CERN talk, and provided a handout for people with an explanation about dark matter and a recipe so that people can make dark matter cake at home. And I also provided a demonstration video as well about how to decorate your cake to look like the universe. So you can click on the link there, and all of this material is available on YouTube now. So another event that we've run, which has been mentioned by a few people now, is proton cookies. So we ran this at the CERN Open Days last year. And the goal here was to have something that is fun, something that can be done quickly, and that is suitable for a wide range of ages and knowledge levels, and that everybody can get something out of it. So the concept is very simple. You start with a plain cookie, you put on some icing, which is the gluons, and then you add M&M quarks. So we had 1,800 cookies that were the pre-brought, because I'm not going to make almost 2,000 cookies myself. And we had 9,000 custom printed M&Ms as well. So these were in red, green and blue for the quark colors, and printed with a U or a D on them for up and down. And if you've ever wondered what 9,000 M&Ms looks like, this is it. This is 9 kilos. It's quite a lot. And I've added a link there in case anyone wants to run this activity locally and make their own. So at the open days, we served about 1,800 cookies. And you can see here the evolution of someone making their cookies. So start with the plain cookie, add the icing, add the quarks, and then enjoy with a cup of coffee, which was being served in the same tent. So the feedback we got on this activity, the adults really appreciated that this was something that they could spend literally just 2 or 3 minutes on and leave having learnt something. We found that mixing the quark colors together all in the same pot forced people to think about getting the right combination of M&Ms, so 1 of each color and 2 ups and 1 down. Although of course with younger or less confident children, you could give them the right quarks. And almost every visitor took a photo of their cookie on their phone as well. So the activity worked well with all demographics. And it's something that can be very easily tailored to different audiences as well, because you can, for very small children, for example, you can just say something very simple like everything in the world is made of these tiny particles. And then for sort of adults or people with more of an interest in physics, you can talk about how protons are made of particles called quarks. You can introduce the concept of color. And the physicists seem to enjoy it as well. A lot of people were posting on social media, I've discovered pentaquarks, or look, I made the quark gluon plasma. So it's quite a cheap and portable activity to do as well. You don't need too much equipment. A couple of months after the open days, we ran this at the Expanding Your Horizons event in Geneva. So this is an event that's encouraging girls aged 11 to 14 to consider careers in STEM fields. So we ran this there, we just had a table set up, the girls could come, make some cookies, chat to us for a few minutes, and then move on to the next stand. And Katie ran this for Girl Scouts in 2017 as well. So here the girls were 10 years old. So the variant there was that she got them to make 2 protons and then collide them and detect the remnants in your mouth. But we decided this was a bit too messy for open days. A possible variant for older students as well could be to make different mesons and baryons. So we like to think of this as the real flavor physics. So that sort of leads on more to the sort of educational aspects of the project, sort of people with a more in-depth understanding of physics. So we made these Feynman diagram cookies. So here Katie has done the Higgs boson decays out of cookies. So you can see the different ways that the Higgs boson can decay. And she did a version of this for her undergraduate particle physics exam. This was like the final bit of the exam. So the students had to pick out the right cookies and put them in the right order to get the decay that she asked them to make. And this seemed to work very well. And I've never seen a group of students look so happy during an exam before as well. So now a bit about our media engagement. We realised that science-themed cakes are quite attention-grabbing. So this is a cake I made for the LGBTQ STEM Day in 2018. The LGBTQ CERN group organise a bake sale every year for this to raise money for charity. So I made this cake for them to then auction off, and this has actually ended up being our most popular post on our Twitter account, and it trended on that day as well. I also made for the centenary of the 1919 eclipse. So this was the eclipse, the solar eclipse that provided the first experimental validation of Einstein's general theory of relativity. I made a diorama of a solar eclipse using cake pops to celebrate this, and this was featured in the New York Times. So cake as well is often associated with celebrations. Of course, birthday.
Catherine, your time is getting to the end. So do you have many slides left?
It's been 10 minutes, I had 15.
15? So five more?
Well, it was a 20-minute slot. I've been talking for 10 minutes, so I assumed 15.
Yeah, five more and 4 questions, but you can take some time from the questions time. Okay, go ahead. Don't worry. Go ahead, and we will deal with it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so yes, for the Atlas and CMS 25th birthday celebrations, I coordinated with the outreach teams there on cake design. So this was posted by both experiments on social media and also on CERN, where they used this as a cover photo for the article as well. And this seemed to do quite well on social media. For CERN's 65th anniversary celebration as well, they asked me to provide some images for that. So they ended up with standard model cupcakes here. And again, this seemed to do quite well at attracting people's attention on social media. And this cake probably looks familiar, the cake that started it all. Atlas used this as the post for the anniversary of the Higgs boson discovery. So we've had some other media coverage as well. So I've linked there to some articles. So we've been in things like Symmetry magazine and Forbes magazine as well. So the other thing we wondered is if cakes can help us reach new and non-typical audiences. So we did some evaluation of our social media. So we focus on Twitter. So our Twitter account, we looked at the geographical spread of followers, and these seem to be sort of fairly evenly spread across the globe. Of course, with sort of more people in English-speaking countries, because we do post in English. We also wanted to know if we're reaching more women than sort of typical sort of physics science accounts. So we have this data here. It has this disclaimer that I don't really know what the algorithm does to guess people's gender. And there's this large fraction here where people, well, it couldn't guess people's gender. But I think it's encouraging that we're getting sort of equal proportions, men and women, from the people that it could guess. And I also looked at the information in people's Twitter bios of our followers. So sort of looking for sort of keywords. So physics and physicist cropped up in about a quarter of the followers. Anecdotally, I had noticed that we were being followed by quite a lot of bakeries, and indeed, sort of, we've got sort of maybe 5% of people have cake in their Twitter bio as well. And then we also have followings in people in other sciences and in education as well. So our future plan for this project is to publish a book, and the idea is that we would have about 15 original recipes for physics-themed bakes. And the idea is that it's not just something that looks like something to do with physics, but that when you're eating it or baking it, you're sort of really immersed in the physics. So this is Schrodinger's Kit Kat here. The idea is that each half of the pieces have a piece of Kit Kat hidden in them and half of them don't. So when you eat the cake, you do, the Kit Kat is both there and there until you bite in and collapse the wave function and determine whether or not it really is there or not. So the book would be aimed at people with an interest in particle physics, but no specialist education at all. And we're working with a photographer there as well. So hopefully I've demonstrated to you or convinced you that cakes are a fun and quirky way to communicate physics topics in a very light-hearted way. We've created these new recipes so that people can actually learn about physics while baking or eating the cake. And we think as well that physics-themed cakes can be a very good way to grab people's attention. So for example, on social media or as a hook for articles. And that's the end.
So thank you very much. It's really great, fantastic ideas how to explain physics with cakes. Questions?
I have a question, if I can. I cannot raise my hand because I'm a co-convener, so there is no discussion. Fantastic, Catherine. Really, I love this activity. So you said you are thinking about a book aimed at specialists in particle physics, or I misunderstood?
Non-specialists.
Non-specialists, yes. That's right, because I think this project has a potential to reach to different audiences and attract children as well.
Yeah.
Perfect, right.
More questions or comments? I see. Did I see a hand?
Yes, if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
Catherine, fantastic idea, and it's really a very, very nice project. In the case of the Smarties with cookies, did you thought of having anti-color Smarties, anti-color M&Ms? Say the opposite color, or it's because they don't make it that color? And
I mean, they make, if you get custom-made M&Ms, they do them in quite a wide range of colors. I think probably though you start going, like this starts getting a bit too complicated for the sort of audience.
And how did you put the letters in the M&Ms? Were it's the factory that puts the letters, or it's you?
Yes, you can order yourself. So there's a link there. You can go to the M&M website and you can get images or words put on M&Ms and they custom print them for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ivan, yes, Ivan had a question.
I'm just curious why it was hard to detect dark energy in the cosmic cake. that was beetroots, I guess, 70% of it. So
the cake is very, very chocolatey anyway. So these are not, of course, the only ingredients that go into that cake. There's like usual cake ingredients in there as well. So I mean, it's a bit like if you make a carrot cake. When you eat it, it doesn't taste of carrots.
okay, so it's not chips that you can detect easily.
No, when you make the cake, you basically put the beetroot in a blender with all of the the chocolate chips.
Okay, and that's the real color, the white, the dark purple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So Claire, you can go ahead with your question, I guess.
Hi, thanks, Catherine. That was a great talk. So my 10-year-old kid is sitting here with me, and we need to know when we can order this book.
Find us a publisher.
Okay, cool. Good luck.
We have actually quite a lot of it written. We just need to, get serious about finding a publisher for it.
Awesome. Well, we eagerly await.
Ivan, do you have another question? Because no, okay.
Is there any other question? No. Okay, so thank you very much. So now it's the coffee break. Shall we have the photograph now or at the end of the session? What do you say?
Can we have some cookies?
Yeah. If they're in person, I planned to bring some sort of. But
I suggest we do both photos because you never know who's here. Or when.
So why don't we take a photograph now and then also one at the end? And we can please the technical assistants, whoever is on education and outreach, the host, be also on the photograph. Okay, so Pedro, you will take the photograph again?
Yes, I don't know if we have already everybody that wants to be on a photo, of course, because we have
21 participants.
only 14 people and 21 participants. But
15.
okay, it will take 5 seconds from now. Then I'll put it on Mattermost.
Okay.
Are we good?
So Kathy, I wish I had some cookies now because it's about time to have cookies and coffee, and your cookies just look delicious.
Okay. Thanks. So,
I think, Catherine, just so you know, you're probably the most tweeted of any of the talks at ICHEP, I suspect.
I think I the talk with the most cake in it as well.
okay, so we come back at 9:50, or is it too short? I think it's okay. We can have a quick coffee, come back at 9:50. Okay? Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So see you.
Catherine.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Catherine, can I still ask you something?
Yes, sure.
I find the idea of the beetroot difficulty. I put a message on the chat. It's incredible. I mean, I don't know if it is on purpose or if it was an outcome, but actually dark energy is really hard to grasp. I mean, it was found by chance, but it does not mean it's not hard to get it or hard to detect it. So the fact that, I don't know, was it on purpose or it came out as a side effect that people could not detect the beetroot in the chocolate cake?
So I'd had a version of this recipe that I'd inherited from my dad that was like a chocolate cake with beetroot in it. And when I was thinking of ideas for cakes that could be sort of physicsy. I was thinking, oh, we could have something with chocolate chips, and then I thought of this recipe that has the cake, the beetroot in it. It took a bit of playing around with the recipe to get things in the right proportion that still tasted good. The original,
because that's also another challenge. A beetroot cake is well, beetroot is not sweet.
No, the cake itself is not a particularly sweet cake, but it's very chocolatey. It's got lots of cocoa powder and the chocolate chips. But yeah, there were certainly a few early iterations of the cake that where yeah, I had got a bit enthusiastic about the amount of chocolate chips to put in, and upped the amount of beetroot accordingly, and it did not taste good. So yeah, it took a bit of tweaking to get that right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. So Magena or Despina still there?
Yes, I'm here, Kate.
Yeah, so the timing, I was told 15 plus 5.
Yes. But well, sorry, I always remind when it's 5 minutes left to 15, and there is another plus 5 for the question. So in fact, it was okay. It's just that I always remind when there is when the speaker is on the 10th minute.
Okay, I'd understood that I was out of time.
Oh no, sorry.
It's very confusing.
No, but we are flexible. You know, we are. Sorry for disturbing you with this.
No problem.
So you are also at WOMAD, yes, and you've recorded videos with instructions.
Yes, so the video recording was so I got special permission to go onto CERN site for one day to record the main talk, and then I had an interesting home setup for doing the
yes
the cake demonstration at home, because I don't think they want to do that in the audiovisual lab at CERN. Yeah, it's like homemade green screen, and then basically, yeah, sort of a cobbled together table, like using quite high up, using things from our garage that we had, and yeah, it was.
Wow, but but I think it's a great idea. So is this video online now?
Yes. So if you go to my slides, on slide 14, there's a link. You can click on that, and it will take you to the YouTube channel for the World of Physics at this festival.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. It's really what you do is really nice and engaging, and very easy for people to grab, and for children as well. And I really see that. Well, I don't know if you already had some teachers reaching out to you for some classroom activities, or not so many.
I mean, I think things like the proton cookies would work well as a classroom. It does. I mean, you do have to buy the M&Ms, so I think it probably depends on like, cheap for us. In terms of sort of budgets we have, and I guess it depends a lot what sort of budgets teachers would actually have. I mean, I think certainly
yes. Amazing that you can buy M&Ms, personalized M&Ms. I didn't know.
They seem to be quite popular for weddings.
Okay.
They hand them out as little favors and have the initials of the bride and groom. Or
Great. Okay, I will go now and find the link to your demo, and we'll share it on Mattermost. Okay, so see you later.
into the Higgs session now, I'm afraid.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
So can we start then? Martina?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, we can start. It's 10 to...
Okay. Okay, it's 9:50. I hope you had a quick coffee. So welcome to the second part of the last outreach session of this conference. We have now a series of talks about the different ways of engaging with the public, plus a talk about elegance in physics. So first we will hear Konstantinos Nikolopoulos about creative science and art pedagogies for the next generation of physicists.
I hope you can hear me well. Oops. Only I could share. Okay. So thank you very much. I will discuss about the series of workshops that we created, combining science and arts, in order to inspire future physicists. So here you see on the right the cover page of Physics Education Journal of September 2018, featuring a still image from a performance from students in one of our workshops, which was also edited by them during the workshop. So during the last several decades, we have made extraordinary progress in understanding our microcosm, yet we only partially understand 5% of what makes up the universe. So this is extraordinary progress, but there's a lot of work to be done still. This scientific progress is humanity's shared intellectual achievement, but also, and we should give the opportunity to the public to engage with that, being to learn about it or even to participate in research themselves. Moreover, a lot of our research is supported by public funds, so I think there is some responsibility to explain to the people what exactly we do with all these resources. At the same point, we have to decide on pressing global issues, and these should be made informed decisions, and these require a solid scientific base. So by reaching out to the world, I think we help build this scientific base. Finally, today's youth is tomorrow's citizens and scientists, so we have to pay more attention to that and nurture interest in science in general to the young people. However, we know that things are not that easy. Here are some bits from the Aspires study from King's College London about the interest and aspirations of young people regarding their career. And there are quite a few problems. For example, this brainy image of scientists and science puts many people off. And it's interesting that put people off even if they are interested in science and they attain well in the subject. Gender issues are evident from a young age. Girls are less likely to aspire for a science career, even though higher percentage of girls rates science as their favorite subject. And of course, these hindering factors are amplified for Black students where they face multiple inequalities. It's a very interesting report. I think you can access it through the link there. So in this backdrop, we wanted to see if we can find some effective way to approach young people. So my collaborators are here, Ian Andrews on the left, artist Ian Andrews, and on the right, dancer and choreographer Mary Parvalaki. And in fact, our main motivation for the workshops was to creatively embed scientific understanding, inspire interest in particle physics, but also stimulate a creative curiosity about the world. We wanted to do that by circumventing or even breaking the stereotypes about science, scientists, and science education. And that's why we took our efforts outside the science classroom, but in the dance studio or the art classroom. The design of the workshop was informed by the creative pedagogical features of the creation project. This was an EU funded project to support the development of an engaging science classroom. So the process, it was a three-step process that led to the workshops. First, it was engaging with the artists through long-term collaborations. These collaborations led to changes to their artistic practice that grown organically out of the discussions, and the topics that they were interested were not strictly predefined. Then we engage with the public, and this allowed a three-way discussion with the public, the artists, and the scientists. And that was quite an interesting experience in itself. And finally, we want to engage students by largely replicating the process we followed with the artists, how we worked with the artists. And we try to dispel the view that science is not for me. Actually, I was very privileged that both Mary and Ian were very keen in learning about particle physics. Here you see some of the notes and books that Ian studied and came back with questions. And it was very early in the process that we understand a fundamental commonality about the two disciplines. Here, it's some words from Ian, but may not make you read it, basically what it says is that despite the obvious differences, we are both artists and scientists concerned with making the invisible visible. Scientists by examining the traces left in a detector, and artists by expressing thoughts and emotions and insights through marks made and materials manipulated. So I thought this is a very, very nice unifying view of what we are trying to do. Here you see some of the arts results, the artistic results from our collaboration. This is from the first exhibition of Ian in the Arts and Science in the University of Birmingham, and you see composed by wall pieces and by light box drawings and so on. And this is later on, a couple of years later, from the Library of Birmingham, and you see that the technique becomes a bit more experimental. And finally, more recent work here where he tries to complete the development of a visual language of particle physics. Similarly, these are photos from the neutrino passoir performance developed with Mary Pardalaki, and you see on the top photographs from the first version of the performance back in 2016, and on the bottom from the latest version and final, as it seems, late in 2019. So this was a quite long process of things evolving and our collaboration getting stronger. So with this background, we set out to build to develop the workshops. So here we start from the first one, the introduction in particle physics concepts through visual art. This was developed with Ian Andrews. And in this workshop, a wide range of techniques were explored: drawing, sculpture, and performance art. And the idea was to give an art school experience. So by giving different techniques, we could interest more students. We could interconnect between the activities and reinforce the concepts. But also, it was very important for us that the work and the methods that were used were both artistically and scientifically valid. Okay, in this way, it could be beneficial for the art students, but also could provide potential homework with little work beyond what is done in the workshop. In the whole idea of both workshops is that arts and science should be put on equal footing, and this potentially could support innovative curriculum design. It could promote also interdisciplinary collaborations. For this workshop, our initial implementation focused on students aged 14 to 16, so relatively older students. And here you see the plan of the workshop. We'll not go through this in detail, but just to say that essentially it lasted one complete school day, in fact. So in terms of physics, both workshops cover a wide variety of physics at the appropriate level for the age. So we start from detectors and how we actually visualize and detect particles. Then we proceed with discussing the standard model particles, the fermions and the force carriers, and then the Higgs boson. Subsequently, we discussed interactions, for example, annihilation and pair production. We discussed about the Higgs boson and how special it is in the standard model. And in the closing part of the workshop, we discussed about future developments in physics, in particular about dark matter and dark energy as major scientific questions at the moment. So here are some examples of the activities we do. So we start the drawing activity with charcoal. So essentially you take a white piece of paper and you put the ground, as we call it in artistic terms, so you cover it with charcoal, and this charcoal becomes then the enabling medium. So basically the artwork is developed on this. So this has a direct analogy with the detector, where we have a sensitive material and then the particle interacts with it and leaves traces that we then discover. for more advanced cases, we can also discuss about the Higgs field, but the basic analogy we use here is the detector, really. And you see, by using a putty rubber, the student can make marks and then further manipulate them to end up to a final product. This one is just one of the several handles that we got, but this one is one of my favorites because when I saw it, it reminded me immediately the pion to muon to electron decay chain, which actually the students have not seen before, so it was not imitated. These sort of images and depictions give the opportunity, apart from artistic choices, to also discuss this as pictures of actual events. So what sort of event could be? This could be a pion to muon and an electron decay chain, but also whether certain depictions could be physical effects, or they could require some new physics, or they would violate some physical laws. So I think it's an interesting discussion that you have, and taking what they made as an artwork and discuss it as a scientific event display. Subsequently, the drawing size become more abstract, and they require a bit more contextualization from the students. For example, we explore drawing with pen and pencil and a rubber band to emulate the quark attraction by the gluons. Subsequently, we go to more collaborative aspects of drawing. So, for example, inspired by the surrealist Exquisite Corpse, where essentially students pass the drawing to one another, and they are given a very short time to add something to it, roughly 10 seconds. And it's quite interesting that the students dislike somebody else intervening in the project, but then we get the opportunity, apart from transformation of particles with time, to also discuss about scientific collaboration. In the end, we use even glue guns. This takes the definition of drawing to an extreme, but it mirrors also quite a bit of what's happening currently in visual art practice. In sculpture, you can see here some of the works of the students, but beyond developing a small piece of art, we then try to manipulate it. So, for example, by taking a three-dimensional object, putting it on a projector, we can observe its shadow on the screen, and then essentially what we did, we take a three-dimensional interaction and we project it on a two-dimensional photograph, which is roughly what we do back in the bubble chambers and cloud chambers era. So this actually gives us also an opportunity to discuss about the analogies with physics research. Finally, the performance arts. Students are split in teams, and they take roles, either performing or recording or responsible for the sound, and then they create a small performance art piece where they, let's say, they show, or let's say they represent some sort of physical process in particle physics. And subsequently, they get the opportunity to make a quick edit of the film themselves by adding colors, changing colors, discussing matter and antimatter, and so on. So this is, for example, a video that the students themselves have created in a matter of 30 minutes. All this work is placed on a single A1-sized idea sheet, I would call it. This gives the opportunity to have a complete artistic product, and this helps the students to take ownership of what they do during the day, but also they annotate the idea sheet with scientific explanations. And of course, then this becomes part of the documentation of the work as we do through publications in science. The idea sheet becomes the focus of a series of group critiques throughout the workshop, but also at the end. Here you see a photograph of the group critique, the final group critique of the workshop. And in fact, by critique, is just the art term for seminar. We discuss again artistic choices, but also scientific context, and we get an opportunity to reinforce the key concepts and dispel any misconceptions. Again, these are completely analogous to the scientific seminar, and we get an opportunity to discuss about progress relying on discussing the results and improving based on feedback and discussion. The evaluation was pretty traditional in the sense that we used pre and post event questionnaires, and we got quite positive results. I will not go through the details here, but I will just focus a bit on this, let's say, word cloud of the responses in the questions the question, describe one thing that you learned today. You see that quarks have, quite some popularity, but then Higgs boson is here, cloud chamber, and then dark matter, electron, and neutron are following. Moving on to the second workshop, this is the particle dance, bringing particle physics dance studio. Again, the core idea is to bring physics in the dance studio, which allows informal learning, and we avoid the science classroom preconceptions. And moreover, of course, clearly we have interdisciplinary connections. Again, we found that this is mutually beneficial for both the dance lesson and the physics, because students probably for the first time appreciate dance as means to express and convey ideas apart from emotions. So again, the two subjects are completely disconnected in the curriculum, and this brings them together. And again, here it's important the students at the end of the workshop have a complete artistic creation that they can perform and they can discuss. In this case, the initial implementation focused on girls of younger age, 12 to 13 years old, so early years of the secondary school.
3 minutes left.
Yes, so the workshop structure is simpler in some sense. We have a first part discussing the standard model particles. Each child has a trump card with one of the particles with its properties, and then we discuss them in terms of particle zoo, let's say soft plus toys. And then essentially we connect the particles to dance by each student giving a short choreographic movement based on the name or the property of the particle. We combine all the movements together in a single choreography, and this is the particle dance. Then we discuss about antimatter and particle interaction, specifically scattering, pair production, and annihilation. And the students are split. Actually, they're very interested about antimatter and how things can, appear and disappear through interactions. And then we split the children in teams of 3, 5, and 7 persons, and they choreograph an interaction. They take complete responsibility of this choreography, including the choice of music. And this is something really, really new to them. And this gives us, especially when there are trouble for them deciding about the choreography, gives us a possibility to discuss about the collaborative aspects of research. Finally, at the closing of the workshop, we discuss about physics beyond the standard model. And there we get variable reactions when they learn that what they have been told the whole day is just 5% of the universe. Most are excited and interested. Some are disappointed. We had one case where a student actually got visibly upset, almost angry, and it was very interesting. She just couldn't accept that we don't know most of what is around us. So here is Mary Pardalaki performing an example of the first part, the top and the up and the down quark, the charm quark, and the strange quark here. The top quark. Clearly, each time this choreography is different. The beauty quark, the electron, muon, the tau lepton, the electron neutrino, the mu neutrino, the tau neutrino again. And now we'll go to the gluon, the photon, it's going fast. The Z. This is because I told them we thought it was the last particle. W+. The W+ boson. W-. And the Higgs. So interestingly, after this first part, then we could ask the students, can you reorder the particle zoo particles in the order of the standard model with the different families and the fermions and then the force carriers and the Higgs boson, and we were very impressed that in all cases they could get it correctly. These are photographs from the choreography developed by the students. we found that the live music, and particularly students choosing the music themselves, proved very powerful. It was the cornerstone, I think, for students taking ownership of the choreography, because up to then, students have been just given a song or a piece of music to dance to, so they didn't have this power. So this approach was really groundbreaking for them. The evaluation here was a mixture of discussion, discussion at the end of the workshop, and we also asked for feedback from the dance teachers. And in general, they were very encouraging the outcome. The students were keen to respond to our questions, and this was a striking difference with their initial reluctance at the beginning of the workshop. They were mostly excited about the different particles and that they can appear and disappear through interactions. And most of them thought up to that point that the atom is the smallest division of matter. We also did this pre and post workshop exercise where we asked them to draw a picture of what creativity in science means to them, and we asked them to include themselves in the picture. And you see here, this is a typical example: a Bunsen burner and a volumetric flask, and this is the student, and this is the same student after the workshop. You see their presence is much more prominent. The comment here is you cannot see it, but it is there. I think it referred to the muon, which is also the particle that the student was assigned, and says, without science, nothing will be there. Prior to the event, the general students were completely ignorant or had no expectations of what it will involve, and they were very surprised that the two subjects were combined so effectively, and they found the event very different and unusual. There was excitement about the creative aspects and all the power they got in defining the choreography, and the collaboration was highlighted. And of course, again, the end program having something they could perform for their parents, I think was really crucial to their engagement, and interleaving physics with dance thought to be beneficial for this understanding at an early stage. This is a quote from a student. I always thought it was just one atom there, where just electrons going around it, but actually there is so much more to it. Another example of the pre and post drawings, again, Bunsen burner and a student holding a piece of paper. This is what creativity in science meant before the workshop. And this, and this is after. This was very impressive indeed. This is the atom with the quarks and other particles, so the gluons and other particles, and we have questions, and then we learn, and then we dance, and we perform, and then we go back with more questions. Finally, just before closing, I would like to point out that these workshops, we use them in collaboration with education experts to explore the interaction between science, arts, and their inherent creativity, and the possibility to use that to improve the learning potential. The focus in this publication, for example, it's an open access publication you can read, is dialogue and materiality, and how they manifest in creative pedagogy. And we used what is called diffractive analysis. It was a series of research assemblages in response to arising questions and iterating. Actually, it was a very interesting process for me personally. I have never done anything like this before, and it led to many insights and new questions. So I invite you to have a look if you are interested. So overall, we developed 2 science arts workshops introducing particle physics in students, and we replicated the actual process we used with the artists. 2 main strands we followed: visual arts and dance. Although, for example, the visual arts workshop could be split in, only a workshop of drawing, or a workshop of visual art, or a workshop of sculpture. And both disciplines were connected and were put on an equal footing. We saw positive outcomes, and in particular in terms of empowering students towards science. So they felt that this is not something to fear. And recently we're very happy to be awarded the ERC Public Engagement with Research Award for this work. But what was more important for us was the feedback from the students and the teachers. Here I will give you a quote from a teacher who, before the workshop, was very, very worried about how the students will take it. And she said, the workshop was so good, everyone came away with a real buzz. From conversations afterwards and watching them during the day, they all really enjoyed them taking part, and it was lovely to see them so engrossed. What I learned was, A, the power of getting pupils to visualize new and complex ideas in different ways, and B, not to stereotype our students who prove they can cope with and enjoy being presented with very challenging ideas away from the exam system. So thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you very much. Really fantastic ideas and the realization. And congratulations for the prize also.
Thank you.
So, questions?
Well, maybe I would like to comment, Konstantinos. I want to congratulate to this big variety and the obvious result how via the arts the students are really engaging deeply. This is exactly the same experience I do. I mean, Konstantinos, we and us, we collaborated in the Creations EU project, and which was a project in creative science classes, in science classes. And I think these type of collaborations, we as a community should look out more, because what allows us in these collaborations in the EU projects is that we can connect, like Konstantinos demonstrated, getting specialists from the educational communities involved, and we are providing the science content, and they are helping us to understand the pedagogical background. Konstantinos, could you shortly describe how the collaboration with the specialists went, because you even published scientific papers on it?
Actually, I have to admit, it was particularly, I enjoyed it. Initially, I was very, very worried of, because initially we didn't even, thank you for this question, actually, Michael. And just to say that, of course, we are not all as gifted as you, that you can combine the artists and the physicists. So I think you have a great privilege there. Indeed, in the beginning, talking to the education experts was a bit daunting for me, in particular because I realized that we don't speak even the same language. And that was the initial struggle, let's say, to get to talk with the same vocabulary. I think this was eased a lot by the fact that some of the education experts were coming from a science background, so they were actual physicists that then were more focused on the education expert. But I think especially once we started working on the analysis for this publication, I think that then that barrier fell very easily, because essentially we had the data, the evidence, let's say the photographs or the interviews that we're discussing on. So of course the education experts were more able to frame and interpret certain things, but I think the insights on what the data were telling us were coming, I think, from all sides. So I think that was definitely very educational for me as well. And I definitely suggest it to anybody that has the opportunity. I think it opens new insights that, yeah, it's not obvious that you can, find on your own.
Okay, Steve has a question.
Yeah, that was a fantastic talk, and the project looks really, really amazing. Konstantinos, I'm really impressed by this, especially all of the efforts done to engage these young students. And I guess maybe I got the answer just now from Michael Hook, because I was going to ask, what is there any work being done now to sort of coordinate a program like this in the framework of, say, Origins or any of the other arts and science projects? Even, I mean, it's somewhat different than what art at CERN does, I imagine, but Origins, I'm kind of interested in.
Yes. So indeed, this collaboration with the artists were started before the Creations program. But of course, the Creations program offered a very, offered the resources and the contacts to take this to a different stage and develop it and give it a shape. The Creations project has finished, I think, 1.5 years ago or something like that. But since then, we are mostly supported by the Institute of Physics in the UK and some funding in France to continue with the workshops and the artistic practice. For the moment, we have some discussions with the Origins, but I think And in particular, we're thinking of whether we could also bring some of this work in ICHEP. But of course, with the pandemic, this has stalled a bit. So I think this is something that we want to follow up and see where this can go. Even more so, you know, we are more than happy to, I mean, the publications, of course, are there, so people can see and read all the details if they want to implement something like that. I think the most important bit is to find, I was really privileged to work with Ian and Mary because they were very, very interested in learning the physics. So that made things work really, really well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't see anything. Pedro doesn't have a question this time. So thanks again, Konstantinos. And we can now go to Michael Hoch, who will tell us about cultural collisions.
Yes, hello, hello. One moment. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your slides.
Well, okay, you can see my slides.
Yes, when you go full screen, it will be all okay.
Should be now.
Yes, yes, here. No?
But now it's full screen
Yeah,
for you as
now
well?
it's full screen. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks a lot. I mean, the talk of Konstantinos, of course, was a perfect introduction to what I'm doing, or what we are doing since many years on cross-disciplinary science, education, engagement, and networking. Let me make one comment to Konstantinos' talk. I think this effort we should try to combine and with different funding probabilities with EU or other funding ways funding this type of projects. We should try to use the resources we create during these projects and disseminate in a wide range. Today, I'm focusing on one specific, very successful format called cultural collisions, which came out of this. It started earlier, but we developed this further within the same EU project like Konstantinos, the Creations project. So we use this network of educators and scientists and artists in Europe to develop this further, and this is disseminated. We benefit from the cross-disciplinary engagement and networking from our community and enlarging it to further other communities. However, one thing we should never forget: not all students need to become scientists. So not all are that talented or that much interested to run a full masterclass. However, in our education system, very often the curiosity after when they become 9, 10, 11 years old drops. So when this is poison for science, because science is based on curiosity, and that means we should find with different ways to diversify the communication language of science. And of course, we are living now in the 21st century, so all students need to develop the critical thinking. If I look around in the politics globally, it becomes really scary. So if we don't teach next generation on critical thinking, and especially applying scientific methodology and fact-checking, then our society will be screwed soon. So this is what we are doing in the science engagement is super, super important. So we have to find many different ways to improve this. So, and of course, our community, the science community, we are not the only one who are tackling these big questions on mankind was always interested from the beginning of time. That means the obvious solution is of course if we want to get a wider spread, a deeper impact, we have to team up with other communities who are working on the similar questions, and of course, getting them on board. So communities outside particle physics, first of all, because particle physics, the microscope, but if we talk, if we have our colleagues on board with a telescope, we're talking about the same thing. And of course, then we need also other creative communities getting involved to inspire us, and getting using them as a translator of what we are talking about to a wider spread of general public, but also on especially on students. That we don't. So it's in that way we are reaching a cross-disciplinary approach. Team up with our colleagues. Well, I'm running the ICHEP program, which is an interdisciplinary science engagement and networking program, specialized on education. This is actually what Steve just mentioned before. What Konstantinos did, and what we are doing with ICHEP or Origin now, is we are not in congruence with the Art at CERN program, because we're doing something completely different or complementary. We are using the arts to reach out the next generation in an educational aspect. So it's not art for the sake of art. It's about getting translated and in attracting other communities, especially students, on our topics. And since 2017, we enlarged, as I said, which is important to team up with astrophysics, particle physics, neutrinos, and gravitational waves, well, because we are a big community of top science experiment, and we are all working on the same thing from different using different detectors, different technologies, looking from different angles on the same topic. This is also an important aspect on communicating to the general public, that we do the same thing, but from a different viewpoint. So we are a big community, and that's why we called it also Origin. We are exploring the origin of the universe. So what is the mission? The interdisciplinary science engagement and networking, and this should be used as a tool for our community to get in touch, and what happens is we use arts as a tool to engage actively. The students, you can empower the students to own the subject and make a contribution. This is what Konstantinos presented as well in the evaluation process, that after they went through this cross-disciplinary engagement, they have a completely different angle on the scientific topics, because they have to own the topic before they can be creative. Of course, owning on their own means, not like a PhD, but this is not needed at the beginning to keep them interested in what we're doing. So, and of course, scientific methodology triggers the critical thinking. And as I said before, we need the arts, not for the sake of the arts, but we use the arts to get an entry door into our scientific topics in a way children can, or also general public can relate on. Because if they can relate on, they will understand and memorize and remember it afterwards. They leave the exhibition or the talk, they will afterwards remember it. If they can relate on, they will get out of the room and will forget about it. It will be a nice experience, but this is not what we want. We want to have them engaging and understanding it for long term. So there are three quickly 3 different models for 3 different formats: the SciArt Masterclass, the Science and Art at School, and which has a perfect best practice model in Italy, the Art and Science across Italy, which is very successful. Please have a look at their webpage. They reach out to many schools and students there. And the Cultural Collision is another format of the Science and Art at School, even more complete. We receive different, if I see it now, each year we receive a different awards from the European Physics Society, from ministries we are collaborating with globally. The Cultural Collision format foresees, first of all, a preparation of and help. First, you have to get in touch with the schools, with the school institutions. Then you help them to prepare the science teacher, to prepare the children. And then when they come to the exhibition, we set up that as more they are prepared beforehand, they will take out more when they leave. So then we providing a big exhibition, a cross-disciplinary exhibition. So we present science content enhanced by artworks, and we use this exhibition as a framework to run science lectures, science workshops, art lectures, and art workshops. And then once they will run through this usually for one school class, a full day, we start, and this can vary from guided tour and talks through the exhibition up to a full masterclass, ICHEP masterclass, as a scientific unit, and of course always combined with the artistic inspiration workshop. So to kick them off, then we send them back to school. So there are always science teachers and art teachers involved. I request this. I don't want that science teacher create art with the students, and I also don't want that art teachers explain science at school. So there has to be really interdisciplinary also from the school structure. Then they are at school and they work at school in the art class on the scientific artworks through the year. And at the end of the year, school year, we help to prepare another exhibition where we just present the artworks, the outcomes of the students, and in the final exhibition. So another big, we run this with the Origin network globally, and of course one thing one has to say, wherever we go globally, and you will see I have a few examples afterwards where we have been, wherever we are, the local institutes working on the different scientific topics are always presented on the stage as the heroes, because these are our heroes, because these are the people the students can get personally in contact, and they will stay in contact after this exhibition and the whole workshop is finished. They create a personal contact, and if they want to follow up, they have already a personal contact, and they if they want to study our topics with the institutes. So act locally but think globally, because all our collaborations are international collaborations, and of course this is very much attractive, and it is one thing what a big important aspect in the communication is also we have to sell whatever we do here at CERN or in LIGO, Virgo, or ICHEP, that if you want to participate, there's an institute in your city. Get there, get in contact with them, and then you can participate in the big global experiment. It's the knowledge is always at the institute and not where the detectors are. So these as a concept is accessible, because then we take the abstract idea of CERN is so far away, or ICHEP is so far away, to something, oh, it's next door. So I want to get interested, and I want to get in touch and stay in touch.
Michael,
Actually,
three more minutes.
3 more minutes.
Or we can take question time as well. So
Yeah, we can take, yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I will speed up a little bit. With the example, we were invited by the Ministry of Education from Ontario, and we had an 800 square meter exhibition on origin in the Science Center. And you see here on the slide all the institutes collaborating for this exhibition. We had here, you see the program. Each day we had another school coming, several schools coming, and we had an introduction talk, science workshops, lunch break in the exhibition, art workshops, science workshops, rap workshops, music workshops, and exhibition. And then they went to school back. Here a few pictures. The science rep. We could bring some of our international collaborative artists there. Here's a Consensus, the rapper. Then we have Scott McCauley, a composer of Birmingham University. Met Tom McCauley running mini masterclass. LIGO, Martin Henry from LIGO gave LIGO masterclass. So it's really, we are trying to cover the whole spectrum and offering a lot of attractive activities to kick off. So this is not, we had scientific and artistic workshops, but the idea is to kick them off, inspire them, and then but the artistic work they had to do at school. So here is the final exhibition, also in the Science Center, presented for a week of the artworks of the students. There was a performance during the opening, rap performance and hip-hop dance performance and sculptures. If you want to have a look to the evaluation of the Ministry of Education, it's always good to have outside institutions evaluating what it is. We got a very positive evaluation, and we have proven how strong this cross-disciplinary engagement works for the students. Similar thing in Vienna. So several times we run this cultural coalition in Vienna. Here I have to say, this is in Vienna we are already in the next step to make this sustainable, because there we created a collaboration between our local institute with the MUMOC, the Museum of Modern Culture, Origin Network, and the City School Council. And we run these workshops twice a year, summer semester and winter semester. And so we got already big institutions involved, interested in cycles of cultural coalition cycles. And this means we can each, first of all, we cover over the next years many schools and students, and of course doing this we are improving, of course, the whole format as well. Here you see the opening and some science flash mob. Again, Martin Henry from LIGO and Barry Barish giving a talk. So and our colleagues, they say a similar thing in Cultural Coalition in Oman, where we run workshops for high school teachers, because these are our ambassadors. Then high school students and also primary school students, because curiosity and our big questions are not limited to any age. We just have to present the topics in a different way. Another thing what I want to show here, of course, setting up big collaboration with big experiments, with big names, in collaboration with the ministries, with the big governmental institutions. It offers also a showcase to get in touch with politics, so we can lobby on our case with the different people. We are in Oman. The Prime Minister showed up, the Minister of Education, which is a big supporter. And with her we're preparing in 2 years the next step, even longer and even bigger exhibition and workshops. So it's, and of course creating a stage for our local colleagues. Cultural Coalition Prague. So this is where we are now, or online at least. This is we have been very happy to be involved in the supporting the Be Inspired at ICHEP 2020 program. So, and there we introduced the Cultural Coalition format, and we run a large variety of science and art activities. And I would like to invite you to go to the Be Inspired webpage and vote for one of the artworks. Unfortunately, as you know, the COVID-19 just is making the whole thing a little bit more difficult. Nevertheless, they were creating something which I found very positive, because it's not easy. Was not easy the last month for the students and the teachers. Our colleagues in Prague did an amazing job. They create, because what I just said in Oman and here in Prague, they also connected to television and so we had several articles in journals and even in the mainstream television interviews, and so this, we can use this as a stage and a showcase to get our topics out. Here,
Michael, just another reminder
okay,
that your time is now gone, but you can continue.
Okay, 2 minutes, and I'm
okay,
gone.
perfect.
Because last but not least, I just want to show two other opportunities in the IBS Cultural Center last year, which now we there I was invited just on the CMS art side, but now we are and this triggered with our community the next step. So this was in Daejeon in the Art Culture Center, but now this year we're preparing in the Hanyang Museum and in the Origin Network. So so it's always step by step, and once we get in contact with network, we can lobby, and then we try to use this in the next stage and offering a more complete and more wider network for the benefit of all the whole community. In the first day, we mentioned also the art and science in the Balloon Museum in Châteaudet. I just bring this up again for one reason, because the introduction, why we have a balloon flight and measuring Victor Hess results of discovering the cosmic rays, was because I was invited to present artworks in the museum. And of course, then I hooked up with our friends and colleagues, with Hans-Peter Beck, and with him from the Atlas community, we developed, and we are always trying to not having the art, as I said at the beginning, it's not about the arts, it's about the science. It's about this. The arts is the hook, but then once we have somebody bite the hook, we just tear them back, and then we try to sell whatever art science we can relate to. And this story on the cosmic ray was really very super successful. This exists now. We presented, as Magena told it, you as well. We had it in the open day, and that's why also this is with the collaboration. This was the reason why we had the balloon flights at 0.5 at CERN during the open day, and so again, another example how once we attract another new community, then we try to get more and more out of it. So summary, interdisciplinary engagement is super, super powerful, very important. We should try to use it as good as possible, because it allows the students to get deeply involved with the topics with their own means, and then they will keep it in mind, and they will take it home. And to maximize the sustainable impact with our resources, we need to collaborate and engage with other institutions, because we can outsource educational and artistically, and this is one thing, not just from the expertise, but also from the budget, because they know much better how to, or they can help to fund our educational projects and our artistical project. And as the wider we collaborate, as more languages we translate our topics, as more likely we hook up with students, and they can touch to it. So students, at the end, as I said again, it's not about the arts, but it's about to present science as a creative profession, and use the arts as a serious reflection and debate on our scientific topics. And this allows the students to really involve their own and get deeply involved and in touch, much more than just a pure presentation. So, well, thanks a lot. Sorry that for a few minutes over time.
Yes, thank you.
The last comment, maybe I would like to invite everybody to come up and collaborate within our Origin network.
Yeah, I think, Michael, we can also discuss at the end, because it's a bit unfair for other speakers. They might have other talks on other tracks. So just we try to monitor time. So maybe, Despina, do we take one question and we move the discussion at the end?
Maybe one question, if there is any urgent.
Do we have like one burning question?
And by the way, thanks a lot for.
Yes, it's amazing.
For the Spectrum and for all your awards. Congratulations.
Okay, so I cannot see burning questions, but let's stay at the end and let's discuss. And if there is, we bring up this subject at the end. Okay, after all presentations. Thank you, Michael.
It's the turn of Connie Potter to tell us about physics and rock and roll.
Yes, it is. And Michael, I'm here with Chris, and I think you owe him a parking fine, even though it was a fabulous talk as usual, and congratulations. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. I'm supposed to go into
screen. At the middle of your screen, you see something green. That says
screen,
and then you will be able to choose your PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's super easy. Yeah, exactly. And go full screen and we will be able to see your.
So do I go on presenter view, slideshow? I'm on PowerPoint.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I normally click on the.
How does that look? No, that's not good. Oh. Is that good?
Slideshow you want?
It's okay.
That's no good. I want slideshow.
Slideshow, probably.
There we go, everybody. So, hello, I'm Connie Potter from CERN and the Big Bang Collective. You get two for the price of one here.
I'm Chris Thomas from Iowa State and the Big Bang Collective. And this morning we're going to talk to you about two programs, the festival program and the special guest visits to CERN, both of which using music to reach previously untapped audiences.
So there you've got a quick slide about how we're going to go through the different aspects of the two programs. Little bit of humor. I think many of you here are wonderfully creative in their communication efforts, so I like to throw that little cartoon here. So the two programs, the first, the special guest program, it has been going for a few years now. We're inviting well-known artists, often musicians, because of the proximity of a couple of major festivals in the area, for a private visit at CERN. We engage them, we hope to engage them enough during the day or during the evening to share some posts on their social media accounts, which, as you can imagine, often have millions of followers. And sometimes we maintain contact with some of them who show a real interest for some potential future collaborations. The second is the festival program, been going about the same time, I would say, as the special guest program, taking science to where the people are. So non-traditional venues. In this case, we're going to music and culture festivals. Now we've expanded from the UK to throughout Europe, and there were discussions earlier this year about going further afield, reaching people whose normal science engagement with science is very little. So how did it all start? Well, back in 2015, we had a special guest visit from a gentleman called Mike Large, who is the Chief Operating Officer of WOMAD and a former physicist himself. WOMAD stands for World of Music, Art and Dance. It operates in several countries, founded by the musician Peter Gabriel. The flagship one is in the UK. And at the end of his visit, he said to me, Connie, I think that our WOMAD audience would be interested in hearing more about the work that you're doing about physics. Not that I'm doing, I'm not a physicist, but about all you wonderful physicists are doing. How about bringing it to WOMAD? And I kind of said, no, I don't think CERN does that kind of thing. And he insisted, and he was right. We had the first physics pavilion in 2016, and I'm very proud, we're all very proud to say that in 2019 we became a full World of Physics. So in fact it would be World of Music, Art and Dance and Physics, and you can see the lineup for 2019 there. There's a few photographs to show you a typical festival image, lots of tents, lots of field, lots of grass, the queue. We generally have queues to get into the physics pavilion, and the first team there. 2019, we were asked in 2018 by physicists from various countries to bring the concept to music festivals in their country. So you can see the three we went to there in the Czech Republic, not far from where our wonderful ICHEP colleagues are at the moment, in Slovakia, and also in Denmark, the Roskilde Festival, which is one of the biggest rock festivals in the world, has over 120,000 people going to it each year. Some pictures here from each festival. This is one from the Czech Republic. This was not in a field. It's the only one where we are not sleeping in tents. It is in a wonderful old communist era ironworks, and part of that has been turned into a science center. So you can see the auditorium with the raw concrete there. Then you've got the one in Slovakia, back in the traditional format in a field where they gave us this incredible space, a mirrored tent where we packed the place out. And at the bottom you can see Professor Brano Sitar, who is actually one of the CERN delegates for Slovakia, talking about what has CERN and the LHC done for you. And then a completely different kind of style of festival. This is Roskilde in Denmark, demographic, very young, very hot, as you can see from the assembly there. Now, the content, how are we putting this together? Well, the Big Bang Collective, which is just an informal name that we are putting with this group, which is myself, Chris, and Roger Jones from Lancaster University, and the collaborating institutes in the country of the festival. The basic format is a program involving talks, workshops, live links, whether it be to Atlas, CMS, something at CERN, or sometimes we've gone to NASA, and then outside some hands-on walk-up activities for people who can't perhaps get into the pavilions themselves because it's full, and they can occupy themselves with some hands-on stuff. The program itself, we have a mixture of speakers. We like to have CERN connected speakers, CERN staff users talking about CERN programs. We had, for example, at WOMAD last year, Andy Parker talking about the FCC program. We have a lot of speakers from the country of the festival. That's very important. That's our collaborators in the country who are recommending speakers on HEP topics. And we like to have well-known science personalities, and sometimes not science personalities, people very well known with an interest in science, talking on general science topics. And then below you have some samples of talks and workshops that we have done in the past. And I'm going to hand over to Chris now to say a couple of slides about logistics.
So we ship a lot of material from CERN to the festivals. And once it's left CERN, we then ship it sometimes from one festival to another. So this has to be planned in accordance with the program that we have for each festival. So we may not be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like we were doing last year in the month of July, 4 festivals in 4 weeks. And because of shipping times, perhaps we'll do cloud chamber workshops at Festival 1 and Festival 3. In advance, we need a lot of basic equipment ordered. We need furniture. We have to have electricity, water. We'll need Wi-Fi. And of course, we are generally, with the exception of Pahoda, Ostrava, sorry, we're in a field. Sometimes we do on-site construction work. You'll see a little clip or a couple of photographs later of the entrance that we built for Roskilde Festival last year. And when we do things like that, we need in advance to make sure that we can source all the equipment and materials that we'll need locally. We do that by talking to our local colleagues and looking online. We all need accommodation for the people we bring from CERN and those of our local volunteers who are not able to go home at night. So, as we said, it's in a field. It'll be a tent, perhaps a wooden shed, a caravan, a container, whatever, as long as we have somewhere for people to get some sleep at night. We do all this by communicating in detail in advance, frequently, with both the event personnel and our local institute collaborators. There are all sorts of issues with these logistical challenges. One is that the space we're going to use, we generally have not seen before. We'll arrive there and actually physically stand in it for the first time a day or two before the event. So we will need to know the precise dimensions. We ask the festival and event organisers for that. Generally, they're very good, but they rely on information they get from their suppliers. And we have at one arrived on site and found that we had a venue which was a different size and shape to the one we'd been told. We have health and safety issues. We use hazardous chemicals. They have to be appropriately stored and we have to make sure that they're used correctly. We need enough electrical outlets. If we want to plug in 20 laptops or a dozen soldering irons, we need to make sure that the leads can be spread and covered throughout the area so that we don't have trip hazards. And what we build ourselves on site in the few days before the event, our homemade stuff really has to look professional. We work on it, we try to make it look as slick and professional as possible. The daily scheduling to allow changeover time. So for example, if we have 20 laptops in session 1, then in session 2, we won't want to have an empty space. And then in session 3, the dozen soldering irons, we'll try and sequence them so that bit by bit, the normally 20 minutes we have to completely change the space is going to work for us. We have a bunch of volunteers. Some turn up year after year. Most are new. So every year at the beginning of each event, we have to do some training to make sure that everybody's working off the same page. Finally, the one other challenge is the demographic of the audience, particularly for the programming. So the two extremes of that are WOMAD, where the audience is everything from small children, families, through to elderly people. And then Roskilde, which is 18 to 30-year-olds who have come for a party. And you've got to have a program for each of those events that works for all the audience that you have. Back to Connie.
Thank you, Chris. So some images there, as Chris was saying, about the construction that you have to do on site, sometimes unexpected. He built with the team there the whole entrance sign, which lit up, which was very popular actually. He did a great job there. So the numbers and the feedback. Well, as far as visitor engagement is concerned, the festival program, I think we can say, has been hugely successful, particularly considering the money we're spending. The first Science Pavilion at WOMAD in 2016, over 2.5 days, welcomed 4,500 people. 2019, that month of July, which was the most hectic in my life, 4 festivals, 4 weeks. I felt like I was in a band, I was a roadie, 20,000 people over the 4 weeks. Financially, the cost is spread between the festival themselves, who provide us the infrastructure, and some of them are giving us some accommodation, and CERN, and the local institute teams who together cover all the event materials, speaker travel costs, shipping, etc. As to feedback, we consistently try to give out feedback forms. So all of the team, all the volunteer team have a pack of feedback forms in their pockets. Here you've got a couple of samples from ones that we've given out at WOMAD. We give the same kind of thing out to every festival. This year we were upgrading to tablets, but nothing happened this year. So we will hopefully upgrade to tablets, but you can see the kind of questions that we're asking to get some feedback, and we're constantly looking to improve, to understand what the audience liked, what they didn't like. And some comments that we have taken from different feedback forms, from the young people at Roskilde saying having your mind blown at a music festival is awesome, to something that we hear quite regularly. I didn't understand physics at all at school, but I really enjoyed this. And that is really confirmation of what we're trying to do, is people that have switched off from science at school because they just didn't understand, the teacher didn't have any patience, the old school teaching methods, whatever, who have all their lives just not gone there and have wandered over in this wonderful bucolic field setting, wandered over to a science pavilion and said, oh, well, that maybe looks interesting. I'll go in and sit for a bit. And because of the way our wonderful speakers and workshop hosts are sharing the science, they're hooked and they come back every day. Sometimes they stay there all day and they give us wonderful feedback like this. So the special guest program, well, the power of celebrity indeed. We had some early visitors many, many years ago, Tim Allen, the TV star, musician will.i.am, but nothing really regular, nothing consistent until about 2015 when I began inviting artists more regularly. We put together a program with specially selected guides because we need to be able to communicate the science in the right way with these people. You have their attention for a very short time, and we cannot go off too much into the science. You've really got to talk on their wavelength. Sometimes there are logistic challenges. They come with a private plane that's delayed. When they were 2, then they're suddenly 8, or they come with a load of kids that are not allowed to go underground, so I play the babysitter. The aim at the end of it all is to have great social media posts. As all of you can imagine, some of these artists have millions of followers, and one post on their social media is worth millions for someone like Coca-Cola or Google, and we're getting it for free. Additionally, we do build on relationships between some of these artists who are really engaged and some of our physicists, and hope to get future collaborations, and you can see some of them later on. I'll mention it. Here's a quick snapshot that I'll let you look at later on of some of the special guests that we've had over the years. Maybe I should do a quiz. And they're a quick snapshot of a few posts that artists have done on their social media. My particular favorite is one of the early days. We had the Kings of Leon band that came along. It's a picture of the 2 guys in the top. They were a little bit nervous, and they did say they were kind of nervous. They didn't really know science at all, but they thought it looked cool. So they gave an afternoon of their time coming around, and they posted, "Awesome day at CERN and the Atlas experiment made me wish I'd graduated high school." It's priceless. It's just made me so happy. And when I was talking about collaborations evolving from, sorry?
3 more minutes.
Yes, I'm coming to the end. When I was talking about collaborations coming from the relationships with the physicists and the artists, if you go to the link above, for WOMAD this year, last weekend, we showed a conversation that I just recorded between Jeffrey Hanks from the Alpha experiment and David Crosby, the music legend from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. You may want to have a look at that. So, impressions and impact. Conclusion. Well, collaborating teams, surprise, pride and enthusiasm. From the general public, they again surprised to find us. They're out there with the festivals, and they're often quite speechless, awestruck in having these close encounters with real scientists. Physicists, speakers, they come away having learnt something. They often say, you know, how they've grown a little bit from the experience, really being on a grassroots level, literally in a field, talking to the general public. And we often have repeat visitors. They come one day, they'll come every day, and they'll come from year to year. And for me personally, the collaboration with the local institutes has been incredibly rewarding. And I've discovered, I've just captioned here at the bottom, some great local national sci-fi, SciComm programs that people like Wojtek and Martin in Prague are doing, and Samuel and Juraj in Slovakia and others, to communicate science in the same way. So see you on the field in the next year. It would be great. We're hoping that we'll go live next year. And if I could have 2 minutes to show a film, Marjana, would that be possible?
Despina, what do we, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes, oh, really? 2 minutes. Can we look at it at the end? Because we have one more talk, and then we can look at it all together. Can you stay?
Yes, if that's okay with you. And then I've just got a slide there if anybody wants.
Yeah, I'm very curious, but 2 minutes is a bit long.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take questions now. Despina, I let you.
Okay, thank you very much, Connie and Thomas, about this.
Chris.
Sorry. Sorry. About this very interesting. I'm really amazed how much this has grown over the years. So, are there questions?
Yes, there are 2 questions from Pedro and Steve. So maybe Steve goes first.
It's the 2 usual suspects. So I mean, first, I just basically want to reiterate that this is Connie has organized some fantastic things. It's a great initiative, and she's reaching a very, very large audience with this. If she invites any of you to come on this, you know, pack up your sleeping bag and go and help out, because you really get to meet a very, very broad and enthusiastic public. And so I think that the events that are going at festivals are fantastic. And as she said, when you bring these celebrities in, you can get precious words from them that reach millions of fans. And, you know, fans who've never even thought about the Large Hadron Collider. Why would that be interesting to will.i.am? Why is he down there? And they don't even necessarily get the science right. It doesn't matter. Suddenly they say, oh, this person likes science. That must be interesting them because they're my hero. And so it's really, really far-reaching, broad-reaching program, and I fully support it. And I don't think I have a question. It was just a statement to say that. And by the way, we are keeping in touch with people. I still am reaching out to the high school that will.i.am supports, his foundation, and we're in touch with them and trying to arrange virtual visits and master classes and things like that. So it's worthwhile.
And thank you, Steve. You've been a real precious collaborator from the very beginning. You were in the early days, one of our hosts. So thank you very much for your support.
Michael, if we can go with Pedro first, because he was first.
No, but I can be last, doesn't matter.
Okay, then go ahead, Michael.
Okay, well, thanks, man. I congratulate Connie for this. I agree with Stephen. It is really, really important. This is another path we should focus and also explore more, because to get in touch, the spread of people. Just one comment. What I experienced with our Southeast Europe colleagues, which you may pick up as well, because we developed the train the trainer model. So we with this cultural collision format, we were teaching the children, and the children were then presenting. So if possible, if we run as educational project in schools where the festival is, we may want to get school groups who run through the scientific artistic program, then invite them and give them the opportunity to be our presenters in an exhibition on the stage. This makes them. This was really amazing experience, and we had 3 shifts, and they were all the whole 3 shifts there, the children. So they are so much involved and so proud that they are allowed to present.
Yes. You're absolutely right, Michael. It's great. We do have a school called Babington School in the UK. We started bringing them in the first year. There's a wonderful physics teacher in that school. It's a private school, who all girls, and they do some after work classes where they put on shows. They learn how to do little experiments and talk to the public. And they have grown so much that we also took them to Prague, to Ostrava last year. They are also in the general public program, which I've produced for ICHEP next Wednesday and Thursday. Please do not miss that, everybody. It is an amazing program we put together. Badminton School will be on there again, and they're now collaborating with a far less wealthy inner city school, Bristol Free School, and the girls just love the fact that they're getting out there and they're in these festival environments and talking to the public. But yes, please do have a look at the general public program Wednesday and Thursday night, the live DJ set from the CCC with Larry Lee. It's another great thing we're doing. Thank you.
Okay, so there is one more question from Pedro.
Okay, hello, Connie. I'll be very fast. Of course, I'm very impressed by this presentation. It's also been in IPOC. But now I know that you are not afraid of shows, of festivals with 120,000 people. But of course, I am terrified. There is actually some festivals in Portugal with this type of participation. How do we get you to go in touch with them or them to go in touch with you? I mean, I don't know any of these organizers, but of course, although I don't want extra work on my table, but I would see fantastic if there will be such a science pavilion in one of the next huge festivals next year, of course, because this year it's.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you, Pedro. Thank you. I have to say that until now, we have never actively gone and sought out a festival. The physicists, following the talks that we give, have done exactly what you have done and come up to us and said, we love this. We want to do this at this festival in our country. And they are the ones who have contacted someone in a festival and started the conversation going. And once the conversation's going, they bring us on board, and then we start this three-way conversation. It is crucial to have a local team. So if you were to want to do that, you would need to really have somebody locally and a lot of volunteers, because I can tell you, WOMAD, Ostrava and Pohoda, the local team, it's impossible without them, impossible without them. They do so much work. They work so hard. They know their speakers in the country. They do a lot of on the ground involvement. So we cannot take over as much as we might like, take over the whole thing and just bring the pavilion to you. It is a real collaboration between LIP and us. And we would love to go to Portugal. In fact, Ana Godinho has mentioned Portugal. So if you want to talk a little bit more offline about this, I'd love to explore it further. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so, yes, let's continue. And Connie, please stay. You will share the video so we can continue the conversation after Ivan's talk, who is going to tell us about the project that has a great outreach potential.
And can I just say that Ivan also rocks, because Ivan was part of Pohoda. Yes,
we have no doubts.
Yeah.
He rocks as well.
I think Tomasz Dado is also here watching.
Is he?
So
Tomasz rocks. You're amazing.
Okay, so go ahead, Ivan.
Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. If you can go full screen, then it'd be great. Yes, perfect.
Okay, so my talk is about the role of beauty in fundamental physics. We had two major discoveries in the last decade, plus many other important results, which prove that our field is much alive. However, as was pointed out by Arkani Hamed, some people are disappointed because we have only discovered the Higgs and nothing else. And other people think that we have a problem with beauty, that beauty leads physics, in particular theory, astray, that maybe it's okay for the universe to be a little bit ugly, and that perhaps that the insistence that we have on perfect beauty is not a physics idea, but a bias. So nothing against that. It's always good to be reminded of biases, but some go even further, like David Orell, who said that, wrote, the dollars devoted to particle accelerators have a very poor investment rate. So this, I think, is already misuse of or abuse of beauty. So a natural question might occur to you, what is this beauty they are talking about? Isn't science, after all, a search for truth? Well, I did a little search and checked what the leading physicists have to say on this issue. Now I came across tens of quotes from different people, so I'll give you just a very small sample here. But I was struck that they were consistent. They spoke in unison that beauty is as important as truth for them. And some of them actually sound like beauty is even more important than truth for them, like Weil and Dirac. Especially Dirac sounds like a heretic when he says that it's more important to have beauty in equations than to have them fit experiment. So if we continue with somewhat younger or physicists who are still around, we see it's still the same story. Frank Wilczek says that I think that in our quest there is no more promising guide than beauty itself. And I'd like to draw your attention to what Steven Weinberg has to say in his horse breeding analogy. So when the breeder says that that's a beautiful horse, Weinberg thinks the breeder knows that that's the kind of horse that wins races. So Weinberg seems to distinguish two different forms of beauty. One is the outer apparent beauty, which can be recognized by any lay person looking at the picture of this horse. And then a higher form of beauty, which is associated with the knowledge that this horse can win the races. So this suggests that these higher forms of beauty are closely related with the knowledge, with the truth. And that brings us to Platonism. A philosopher of science, Jesus Bonilla, makes this division into Platonists and skeptics. The Platonists believe that beauty plays an essential role in the universe. Skeptics don't. And we as particle physicists belong to Platonists, and this group is very limited. It includes just physicists and actually quantum physicists and mathematicians, and all the other scientists are skeptics. So this puts us in a very unique position. We know that the universe is fundamentally beautiful, but they don't. And if they don't know that, then the public doesn't know that, and there is a great potential for outreach. Let's take a quick look at what Plato has to say about the subject. So he wrote in his book Republic that there is a hierarchy of different forms of beauty. So you start at the lowest level with this outer or apparent beauty of material objects and phenomena, then you go up to higher forms of beauty, and at the top you find the perfect beauty. And the lower forms of beauty are copies of this perfect beauty. So they share some features of the perfect beauty, but not all of them. And the quality of copies goes down from the top to bottom. The goal of education is to teach us well what is beautiful. So I guess that means that the teacher should take the student up up this ladder. And so the students would be able to see the higher forms of beauty. And for Plato, that means to have the knowledge, to know the truth. And I think that's the same thing as Weinberg said with his horse breeder analogy. Now, could this Platonism in some way lead us astray? There's one possibility, which is during scientific revolution. So this one slide is just a bit philosophical. James McAllister argues that scientists use empirical criteria and aesthetic criteria in their evaluation of theories. And while empirical criteria do not change over time, aesthetic criteria change, as indicated in this sketch. So during the normal period of science, scientists formulate theories, and they formulate a chain of theories. And if all these theories happen to have the same aesthetic property P, such as, for example, symmetry, then the influence or weight of this property P grows in time. And scientists prefer these P theories to some alternatives, like some Q theories, which instead of P possess a different aesthetic property Q. This continues up to the point when these Q theories become more empirically successful than P theories. That's during the revolution, when the weight of these P theories suddenly collapses and these Q theories become influential. Now it's exactly during this revolution when beauty opposes progress, so to speak, and inhibits revolution, because the supporters of these old P theories object that the new Q theories are ugly. And that was the case of Einstein and quantum mechanics. Okay, so it's time to be more specific and to tell you more about what we mean by beauty or beauty criteria. So different physicists suggested different things, like simplicity, strangeness, inevitability. Well, the two ones that I like best are due to Frank Wilczek. It's productivity and symmetry. So a theory is productive if, starting from as few principles as possible, can explain as many phenomena as possible. A symmetry, it's change without change. It can be precisely defined in group theory. And so these two criteria seem very robust. People know, what they are speaking about, the physicists at least. They're quite objective. So in the rest of my talk, I will show how the importance of productivity and symmetry was growing and how it's reached the top with the standard model. So let's start with this celestial motions and planetary orbits. The ancient Greeks thought that these orbits should be circular, and well, they of course appeared circular, but the reason for them was aesthetic. Circle is very simple and it's symmetric. So this theory reigned for 2000 years, and it was quite an obstacle for Kepler to overcome with his elliptic orbits. And this example is often quoted as beauty leading physics astray, but we should be careful with quick conclusions, since in Newton's theory, the circular symmetry came back because it's the symmetry of the Newton's gravitational law. And we learn a very important lesson here, that the old Greeks were correct. So their intuition didn't fail them. The circular symmetry is there, but it doesn't apply to the lowest form of beauty to the orbits, but rather to the higher form of beauty, which is represented by the law. And the productivity of Newton's theory is obvious. A single law can explain both falling apples and celestial motions. Now, in general theory of relativity, symmetry reached stardom. From a single principle, the general covariance, the whole structure of the theory follows. So you start with the beauty principle, and that uniquely leads you to the truth. So once Einstein understood general covariance, which took a very long time, then he could write the equations of general relativity almost immediately. And the productivity is just amazing. It, of course, includes Newton's theory in the non-relativistic limit and a range of wonderful predictions from expanding universe to gravitational waves. Now, classical electromagnetism. 4 Maxwell's equations describe all electricity, magnetism, and optics, and their symmetry, the Lorentz symmetry, played a crucial role in the development of special relativity. The quantum version of Maxwell's theory, QED, shows the same spectacular thing as general relativity. You start from a single principle, which is again the circular symmetry, but operating not in the usual space-time, but in an inner space. And you applied it to free electron field. And from this single principle, the whole structure of the theory follows, including the existence of electromagnetic interactions, the 4 Maxwell's equations, and all the quantum effects and antimatter, and the annihilation of matter and antimatter. So we see that here the beauty is no longer a decoration of the truth, but it's an equal partner, and actually it's the principle from which the truth follows. And of course, our Joule, the standard model, which describes 3 out of 4 fundamental interactions, is again based on this principle of gauge symmetries, which completely determine the structure of the theory. And actually these equations of the standard model fit a mug or a t-shirt, which is a wonderful thing to show. And there's one other amazing thing, spontaneous symmetry breaking, which gives us the answer to the problem of hidden beauty. When we speak this language of beauty in physics, there's a barrier. The people do not understand what we are talking about. Of course, they see that there are beautiful things around them, but there are also ugly things. There is symmetry and there is asymmetry. So do we simply neglect all this ugliness, this asymmetry? Well, not at all. The spontaneous symmetry breaking, as Antoni Z pointed out, could be the tool to connect the two. Nature wants both unity and diversity, symmetry and the lack of symmetry, and this could be the bridge. Okay, so this brings me to my conclusions. Fundamental physics seems to naturally fit this old philosophers' hierarchy of beauty forms. So to different forms of beauty correspond different physical theories, and to perfect beauty, not the perfect symmetry and unity of a theory of everything could correspond to these imperfect copies of the perfect beauty, which is seen in material objects and phenomena, correspond our broken symmetries. And as far as the question goes about beauty, which led us astray, possibly, Well, for that, we would need this Q symmetry possessing theories which would be empirically successful. We don't have that yet. But even if it were true that we are on the verge of a scientific revolution, then I have this point to make that symmetry and productivity are in different shape than all other aesthetic properties. They have been with us arguably since Plato up to these modern times. Their weight has been increasing all the time. They are not just decorations, they are pillars of scientific theories, part of our cultural heritage. And so I dare to suggest that they would have an intrinsic value, or they do have an intrinsic value, which would stay high even if there was a revolution, so that the weight would not drop as indicated by this continuous red line, but it would rather stay high as indicated by this dashed line. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for your reflections on beauty and its role in science. I hope you have all been inspired. So, questions? Let me see. Mayrin.
Hello, Ivan. Hello, everyone. Thanks for this. So you gave lots of examples and important information, but what do you envisage for this outreach potential? Like public talk, incorporation into arts projects, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. In this stage, I thought that it was a good idea to actually realize the way that they are with beauty in physics. And, from my experience, it's not clear to everybody, even within our community. And once we clear things up, I think it gives us a potential to talk about physics from a different point of view. You are free of technicalities, just give a broad picture, the general ideas, and that inspires. I tried it on 2 occasions. For the first one was speaking to high school students during masterclass here in Žilina. And the second one was at a conference of physics high school teachers. And yeah, the response was very nice, very nice. It just inspired me to continue to look into the subject.
Even I think this what you just presented is a typical talk. I would very much appreciate to present in one of our outreach educational programs, because this is typically the way where the students and the artists can then understand somehow the methodology and the structure of the scientific approaches. So I would be very happy to have you presenting in whenever there's something in Slovakia, and I'm sure Connie, she also gives a stage where this topic is interesting for a wider public. So thanks for your contribution, and I will keep it in mind to invite you wherever it's possible if it's close by.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ivan.
Are there other questions or comments? I don't see any hand raised. So I think we can thank Ivan again, and as well as all the speakers of today. And now let us take the photograph. Let us say that this is the end. Take the photograph, and then we can stay on to discuss and start with seeing Connie's video, if everybody agrees.
Yes,
So I
sure.
think since this is the end, I think we can thank all the speakers, all the people who participated in all the sessions, also to thank all the other conveners, and certainly all the organizers of ICHEP, all the technical support and so on. And if I have forgotten somebody, please excuse me.
Thank you, Despina.
There were
And
photographers.
Marjana. And Ms. Education and Outreach, but I think she disappeared. She was with us before. Who organized all that.
Well, I just sent her a message.
Okay.
To name herself and switch on the video.
Pedro, your video is not on. We don't see you.
It's not. It's right. You're right. Now I'm on. But okay, let's then take the picture. We still have only 15 people, so it seems that not everybody wants to appear. Okay, now it's already tailored. Oh, Sasha just came in. Very good. Now I have to adjust my screen. Okay, so it's 5 seconds. Done.
Okay, so congratulations to all speakers. Thank you very much. And Connie, I think you can go ahead and share your videos. We are very curious to watch it.
Okay, let me see if I can do this right.
Okay, while Connie is preparing for the video, I just wanted to say that even it's not a matter of questions. This thing you bring in, first it was a very beautiful talk, as the name it suggested, but it would take us discussion for the whole day. So I'll not put questions, otherwise we'll be discussing beauty the whole day. But I agree that with Michael, that will be fantastic if we relate also this with beauty in art, and also the effect of beauty in art and the limitations led by beauty in art as well.
Yeah, thanks, Pedro, for your comment. Encouraging.
I'm going to try. I have no idea if it's going to work. What happened there?
Are you sharing directly from CDS?
No, I've got it on. I've got it on a web link. Maybe I should just share it to you. If I send it to you guys, and
I don't know, but okay.
You can put it on the chat, Connie.
Yes, but then we would individually need
the best would be put it on the Mattermost. That will be the best.
Yes, but to watch it all together, we have to somehow have it on someone's screen. So if you want, you can send the link, and then I will run it.
Okay,
I will try.
If you put it on the chat, then we have it all also for afterwards, so that everyone can look at it afterwards as well.
I'm going to put it in the chat, Marjana. And
the ones at the front. Would you like to go on this dive?
So just share your screen. Just share your screen.
Hold on. Sorry, everybody. You see, I'm such an amateur at these things.
But just share your screen and we will see it.
All right, let's go. And share screen. Where's my glasses gone? Oh gosh, here we go. Share screen. Share. Are you ready? Can you see it?
The ones at the front. Would you like to go on this dive?
He was brilliant, really great.
Okay, don't know what happened there.
Can you also share the link in the chat?
Yeah, I think I managed to do that, but
you did?
don't know why that's don't know why it stopped. But anyway, I hope that's giving you a feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe too many people on.
So that's the video from WOMAD Festival last year.
That's last year's WOMAD. Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if the image doesn't come back, then please feel free to play it. It really gives you a feel for physics in a field, and some of the challenges and some of the enthusiasm that we got from the audience. I'm very sorry that it's paused now, but there we go.
If you try to move to the beginning or something, I don't know. No?
No, it's not going. Nope.
For the physics video. Okay, I will find it because people are waiting for the link.
So
yeah, the link is here.
I just added the link to the chat, but also you can get them from Connie's slides.
Ah, okay, I see it. Okay, thanks, Claire.
There we go. I'm going to stop sharing because I don't know why it's turning round and round. So, but please watch it. Yeah, whenever.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Connie. And yes, I agree with Michael that would be great to find synergies between different programs, and it's amazing what you've been doing. And please advertise your public session on Wednesday. Yes.
Wednesday, and little secret, little surprise. Pursuing the contacts with that we have maintained with various artists. If you check into the official opening of ICHEP 2020 on Monday afternoon at about 3:30, there is a special celebrity message to all ICHEP participants that you might like to see. But yes, the public program is amazing. Never before done live DJ stream from the CCC. With Larry Lee, with Kaleidoscope Music. We've also got Claude Nicolier, we've got the girls from Badminton School, we have all kinds. You can join the Physics of Beer just around the time when you should all be stopping your meetings and having an aperitif, grab a beer and learn about all kinds of stuff that you can do with beer with Martin from the local organizing committee. It's a very popular workshop, particularly with the young party crowd in Denmark. So yes, the general public program is great, but I want to just say to everyone, I think the stuff you're doing is brilliant. I know it's not easy. I know what it's like battling with people who don't understand the value of this, and it's very, very important. This is a time when people are distrusting science so much, and we've got to find new ways of engaging with them. You'll see with one of the messages on Monday, like I said, with the opening, you'll also see if you follow Crosby's interview, he also talks about how scientists have to get out there and talk with the public. And what you're all doing with the students is another angle. It's just, we need more support on this, and well done everyone for doing it.
Thank you, Connie. So yes, well done everyone. And thank you for your participation in this session. So I think we are hungry.
One last shameless publicity though, don't forget at the end of the day of Connie's session, there's going to be universal science as well. And so physicists who can come can follow on YouTube and answer if there's any comments made there. I'm not sure if they have comments on or not, but we want you to be there.
Yes, I think the whole Wednesday should be booked for public events and outreach. Okay, so we are closing education and outreach session.
Bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Bye. That was a very nice session. Cheers.
Bye-bye.